Oh. I think everyone should be able to hear.
Popped into existence right there.
What?
When I was watching the screen on Twitch, you just kind of popped into existence. Is that how it always works?
I mean, that's what always happens. Yes.
I think I tricked myself into thinking there was a different transition.
No.
I don't know why.
Not that I
Okay.
know of.
Hi, Amazing. Welcome,
Yeah,
welcome.
no, it's just a pop. I don't know.
Okay. It's a pop then.
Hello, Mason.
Hiya, hiya. I think I'm looking at the viewer counts. I think we're a little low right now. Want to stall for a half hour before we get into the topic tonight?
Certainly, but I'm going to rely on you mostly to stall.
Oh, that's
What would you
totally
like to
fine.
talk about?
Well, how is everyone's day? I am very happy right now. I have chocolate and tea with me. This is quite nice.
Yeah, Mason, that was a me.
Oh,
That was
YouTube
a
said it
me.
was scheduled for the.
Yeah, I did it. I did it bad. I did it wrong.
I didn't even
You
catch
gotta-
that.
Yeah, you gotta follow the Discord. The Discord is the one I pay the most attention to. I've messed up before. Life is hard, and it's like me
Tisk,
making sure to
tisk,
get it out
tisk,
the day
Ori.
before.
The struggle is real.
Yeah, the struggle is real.
Well, Mason, we appreciate you sacrificing your movie for us. What movie were you watching?
Yeah, I'm so curious.
Just out of
Happy to have you.
curiosity, anything good? Anything you'd recommend? On the recommendation side of things, I just finished Psalm 100 Bucket List of the Dead. Oh my god, it was good. It was so good. Freaking long ass hiatus they tortured us with, but it was so worth it.
Spider-Man with Tobey
Oh,
Maguire.
that's a classic.
Very nice, a classic. At least we know it wasn't something new you hadn't seen before, I'm assuming. Maybe it was. Maybe you've never seen classic Spider-Man.
It could have been a new venture, or it could have been a walk down memory lane.
Yes.
Damn. Did anyone else feel super old when they watched No Way Home? And
No.
seeing Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire all on screen together, and it was like, yeah, ow, I'm old.
I didn't feel old, and the reason I didn't feel old is because I only briefly saw the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, 2 of them, before Tom Holland, so I consider Tom Holland to be my main Spider-Man anyway.
Okay.
And
Tom
so
Holland
I
for
had
life.
never seen the Tobey Maguire ones. So
wait, for real?
Yeah, Dylan and I made a specific point to watch the Tobey Maguire ones before No Way Home.
Oh, that's right. That was like 2 years ago?
Whenever it came out, right before when it was coming out. I don't know.
Hi, Oscar.
Hello, Oscar.
When 2005 said, yeah, I could drink that. Yeah, that's another thing that'll make you feel old. But that's like, that can be fun. Like, that's one of the perks if you like that.
Yep.
Aw, you're so sweet, Mason. My gosh. We
Well,
appreciate
happy to have
you
Mason.
coming in despite the scheduling mix-ups.
I just hope my computer will handle it. Because, God, it's not wanting to handle it right now.
No, the computer should handle it. It should just do everything it needs to do.
It's not liking me trying to use Clip Studio Paint right now, and I don't know why it's having such difficulty.
You're not due for an update, are you?
No, that shouldn't have anything to do with it.
Okay. Well, I know my computer runs a little slower whenever I got updates waiting for me, which is the
I've
dumbest
restarted
thing
it like
ever.
8 times in like the past just couple days, so.
Oh, condolences.
It's not of that thing.
Hooey, that's rough, buddy.
I think I'm just gonna have to open it a different way right now.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna have to deal with them merged and not the full master.
Oscar, it's one of those moments where it's like, experience does not equate to who's older. I remember
Actually.
there's one person I work with, and when he told me his age, like it was his birthday, my jaw hit the floor. I was like, "Are you for real? That's how old you were?" I thought you were younger than me by at least like a year or so.
I just try not to think about it.
I can't not think about it. Hiya, tape player.
Hello, tape player. I consider everyone's age to be amorphous. And then I look at Markiplier and Captain Sparkles and go, okay, you guys are older than me. We're chill. Like, I'm chill. We're chill now. We're good.
But then you go back to something like High School Musical, and it's like, oh, geez, these guys were young. They were babies.
Yeah, I try not to think about that. We live in
amorphous times.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I hate moving these things. Jesus. Heck. They don't make it easy, I will say.
I know one of those dialogue bubbles is changing.
Okay, well, I ain't there yet. I'm trying to situate it so I could draw the extra panels.
Oh, I see. Oh, you're doing it. Oh my gosh. Sorry, Ori.
There's only two of them, man. It's barely anything.
Here, I thought I gave Ori so much work. I asked her to add 2 whole panels to the updated version.
So we can start like getting into it, I guess.
I think so. We have enough people. Let's lead in.
Way of sort of like, so for you guys who don't know, but you probably all do, but just in case someone's new or hasn't been paying attention.
Oh, is it commercial time?
No, it's not commercial time. Outcast is turning a year old in like 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh. January 30th is our anniversary. It'll be a full year since we started releasing Outcasts, which is just... I said releasing, didn't I?
Yeah, no, I'm just specifying.
Okay.
Release. We've been
I'm
working on it long before that.
I'm like, I didn't screw that up. I know how long we've been working.
A shot yet, Mason. Later.
Yes, much later. But this leads into our discussion for tonight, because as we were talking about things we wanted to do for the upcoming anniversary, some of which you guys will see on stream in 2 weeks, we also decided that this was a good opportunity to make any edits that we needed to make. Now, originally, this started out as just some spelling fixes that were needed.
There's no spell check
Ori
in the
is
art
indeed
program.
one person. She's a
a
very diligent person.
right
she works
away.
very hard. But clip art, unfortunately, does not come with spell check.
Doesn't come with spell check.
So that's rather unfortunate.
And Ori's just a bad typer speller in the first place. So it definitely doesn't help.
But we love her anyway. So it's all okay.
Didn't realize my whole worth was riding on this one thing. Damn. And so, so we wanted to go back and like update that, and then of course there's a couple.
Well, as we started getting into it, sorry.
Misspellings as well, I guess.
Visual misspellings. Yeah, little things like details we needed to go back and add. So originally that's what it started out as. And then, as I'm going through the script and looking for these spelling errors, I start noticing some places where I'm like, we could use an extra thought bubble here, or this scene should be a little longer. Like, let's change the pacing a little bit. Very minor edits. It wouldn't super change the story if you've already read it and don't want to go back, but it does, in my opinion, make the story a little tighter, and it makes it more understandable. It clears up what's going through characters' heads, and it clears up some of the interactions. And that's when we started doing our redos. Now,
Yes.
I've been told that this is not something everyone does. In fact, and I found this so damn ironic. I don't remember who I was watching, but it was a YouTube video essay. I think it was either a Ben 10 or something else. I don't remember. But they talked about how one of the biggest things when you're a creator is never let the creator go back to their own work. Oh, I remember what it was. It was The Promised Neverland season 2.
Ah, okay.
That's where I heard about. Oh, nope away, PCM. Nope away. Happy to see you here. So, what happened there? Okay. So there's this saying, don't let a creator revisit their work because they're going to change things. They're going to add stuff to them. Now we've all seen classic cases of this. Harry Potter suffered majorly from this one. Promised Neverland season 2, that was the video essay I watched that actually had that direct quote, because season 2 was actually a almost reimagining of how it went in the manga. They're taking the same pieces, but now they're laying out the mystery a little differently. So, oh yeah, Mason, the manga's great. Season 2 of the anime sucks. Now, I can't say it's fully because the author decided to go back and change the mystery and how everything fit together, but I can't deny maybe that took a role. Maybe that played a part in it. And then a more recent example I can think of is the Percy Jackson series coming out currently. And now I'm going to use the word controversy very, very loosely. I don't count this as controversy. Like, it's just fandom being fandom. But there are changes in the retelling, reshooting essentially, of the new Percy Jackson series.
Compared to the
And
books or compared to the movie?
compared to the book,
Okay.
fans want it different than the movie.
I know that. That's why I was like, just checking.
But from what I understand, compared to the book, they made some changes to how certain plot elements go, to how some characters react. And from what I understand, the author is heavily involved in the scripting of the series. So it's not like creative control was taken away and you can blame the studio. The author still has his hand in this. Yes, they did skip the Goldie Pond arc, and it was a crime. I can't believe, Mason, I am in as much shock as you that they skipped the Goldie Pond arc. I made it to episode 3 of season 2. One, I just started getting bored, and then I fell behind. I went on my anime list and saw people talking about where's the Goldie Pond arc, and that's when I dropped it. I was like, if there's no Goldie Pond, I'm not here for it. But yeah, so we're seeing through these examples, both past and present, that authors do tend, not even just authors, creators in general, do tend to go back and may change something about their story, whether that be some dialogue, character motivation, the way certain plot elements are laid out. It's a very real thing because, there's always this saying, it's never going to be perfect. But God, do creators strive for perfection. So when you're given the opportunity to go back, and I certainly... It is a battle, because I certainly feel this myself. When I was going through the comic again, and I was seeing everything, I was kind of sitting here thinking to myself, well, okay, George Lucas is a very interesting case. I honestly really like the prequels, to be honest. The dialogue definitely needs work in the prequels, but the whole idea that this is Anakin's villain arc, and we get to see the change over the course of 3 months. I'm sorry, I love the prequels. I will die on this hill. I really will. The new trilogy,
Star Wars,
Ray,
is that I got to read book 4 as in the novelization, and that was pretty neat.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
I might have to check that out. That sounds neat.
Pretty cool.
But yes, Mason, that is another example where a creator was given a chance. Okay, actually, I take that back. All right. Yeah. I think I know the point you're trying to make, Mason. I don't think you were talking about the prequels, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I think you may be talking about the addition of CG to the original trilogy. Is that what you're talking about? Because in that case, yes, that is absolutely a case of the author's hand coming back and fixing
and the
some.
special editions.
Okay, I follow. I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about the prequels originally, because in that case, that's the creator coming back to the same universe, but not changing anything about the original, just making additions, fleshing out the world building. And I'm all for world building. The more details you can include, as long as it's in an organic way that makes sense and creates more answers than questions, I'm all for. But yes, the CGI elements in the originals, the Jabba the Hutt palace scene, ugh, that did not need to exist. I don't know why that exists. I think they just wanted to show off the technology. But it's another very good example where the creator comes back and Jabba the Palace Hut, don't ask. It's been a long day. I was driving in the snow, guys. That's where all my brain power went. I had to make sure I didn't die on the ice. The ice, the rain, the sleet. I think it started hailing at one point.
It was sleeting. It was never hail. I continued to check. It was never hail. It was always sleet.
Because where I was, I had to stop at the gas station because, of course, I was literally on empty as I was coming home. So I was like, okay, make a pit stop. And as my windows rolled down, I'm like hearing smack, 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 smack. And I'm like, what the? Is it hailing? Is it fucking hailing?
The way to tell if it's hail or if it's sleet is hail is specifically a little round piece.
It was a little round piece.
But it usually has this little divot in it. It's not perfectly round. So when you look at it from the side,
okay.
It's kind of up and over. It's got a little divot like this.
Maybe it didn't have the divot then.
Sleet
okay.
A perfect sphere or drop, long drop all this sort of stuff. But hail is specifically this very specific shape.
Okay, I see.
And they're all that shape, right? They're uniform.
Mm-hmm.
That's
okay.
What makes it.
Well, now I know how to judge hail. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Our meteorologist, everybody.
I took meteorology in college.
There you go. I'm going to take a sippy of tea real quick.
Yeah, I'm having decaf orange noir.
Ooh, that sounds amazing.
It's delicious. It's been great. And I made it a tippuccino, so I added froth.
Ooh. I'm so jealous. I put milk in mine, but I didn't have a frother. Or actually, my frother broke. So, sad days. Sad days. I can't be fancy. But to get back to it. Okay, so I've given some examples. Chat has given some examples. And revisions and edits can certainly be received by the fandom or the audience, depending on how they interpret those additions. If it's something that goes against the original canon or changes a character's personality from what it was before, it might not be well received because the fandom is either attached to that character or they've been following the plot of the series so far. To throw in an idea that adds an inconsistency is just going to tell, well, wait, it doesn't make sense anymore. How do I keep following the storyline? So I'll go into what was going through my head when I was doing the redos and edits, because originally with edits, I think going back to fix up the spelling, change something to a comma instead of a period, that's totally fine. It doesn't super change the way the story is told. It just makes it easier to read and correct. So those edits, I was like, okay, well, like that's all we're going to do. I'm just going to do spell check and grammar, make sure like if there's a sentence that's structured kind of weird and I need to retool it, I'll do that as well. But that was all I was going to do. And then I started going through the actual entries. And I got to Aster's and Hangout arc. And I was like, okay, hold the phone. There's a lot I could add here that would just make this segment so much better. Like it would, one of the things, so okay,
So you feel
not
like
a
you
huge
should.
reveal. Yes. So one of the things I did, for example, in Aster's hangout, Milano first bursts into Hotson's room. And Hotson's freaked out. And all of a sudden Milano goes into, okay, you're gonna help out today. And I was sitting here going, well, wait, there's no transition. There's no like, how did we get from point A to point B? It worked originally, but coming back to it, I was like, there's a way to make this smoother. There's a way to make this flow a bit better, like a natural conversation. So I threw in an extra line where Milano says like, "Good morning, blah blah blah," and then he goes into the whole, "Oh, by the way, we need your help today." And that just made the interaction between the two characters so much more believable. Um when I was
Smooth.
writing it, because that's how people would interact. Like you wouldn't have someone scream in your face and then be like, "Oh, okay, business as usual." It's like, no, you'd kind of address that a little bit, or at least say like, "Good morning, sorry to startle you, but we need you today." So that was one of the ads I made, and then another one. This was a big one that I came across, and this one bothered me the most because it's very important to the story we're telling. So, Hodson's whole thing is that he definitely has a prejudice against callers. If you've been reading up to now, he's been very standoffish with them. He's been kind of othering them in a sense, calling them exalium. Also just being very rude in general to Aster and Sint, like, "Oh my god, you had a job? Oh my god, you're so civilized." Like, he's got a lot to learn. Now, in Aster's hangout, in the very first part, Hotson's actually getting along with Aster pretty well. Like he's smiling in a lot of the panels. They're pretty chill. Hotson's mostly freaking about how there's no talking going on. So I was sitting there like, okay, going through this scene, when Hotson does eventually say, "Oh wow, you used to have a job. I'm so shocked," like along those lines, it comes out of nowhere. Like he just goes from 0 to 100 if you read the original entry. And that was not what my intention was when I had first written it.
Intentions
See,
mentioned, just pay attention.
well, no, honestly, that would have been good advice to past me, because going over it, and not with a fine tooth comb, but I'm going to say fresher eyes. And this can certainly be a thing too. Sometimes you just don't see the additions that could make a story more cohesive when you've just been with the script for so long. And I think this was a case where I had been with Aster's script for so long that I started flying through the quote unquote boring parts to get to the fun parts. But in doing so, I neglected to give Hotson some build-up. So how was I going to fix this? Well, I didn't want to add any more panels because I didn't want to drive Ori crazy. And I didn't want to change the dialogue because it was still what I wanted him to say. So how could I fix this? I gave him some more thought bubbles so that the audience could be in his head a little bit more. Now we see him saying, "Okay, I gotta deal with these pirates, but it's just for now. Just play nice for now. They'll give me what I want." So now, when he's approaching Aster and being all, "Hey, was I late? Did I do this?" And he's trying to like pull for any kind of conversation. He's now doing it because he's like, oh, that's playing nice. That'll get me what I want. It's just until I get back to civilization. And that just helped the scene become so much more organic. It really helped then, because now we're in his head. Now we know, okay, he's just like, this is coworker talk, right? Like, you're just
Small talk.
talking. Exactly, small talk, like, okay, how's the weather? Well, what else can I say to stay on your good side? Wow, do you think we have enough wood? Like, it's that kind of vibe. But now it was actually in the panels because I added some thought bubbles to it. So now when Hotson says, oh, wow, you had a job, we now know, because of his earlier thought bubbles, like, he's not just trying to befriend Aster, because that was the impression the panels were giving just by themselves, no thought bubbles, because he's standing there like, oh, and he made me food and he did this. Like, it almost seems like Hotson's accepting Aster. He's definitely not up to that point then. So I had to go back and make some edits to that. That's a very long way of saying that's a quick way to add some clarification without making your artist draw 150 more panels. Which I'm sure she appreciates.
Well, that's
And yes, please ask questions at any time.
Well, if anyone wants to ask any questions, Mars, I have an interesting question. I
Oh,
think it's interesting, and that would
I'm
be,
sure it is. Please.
you sort of talked about a lot of mediums before that. Sort of the author is the sole creator involved, right? Manga are usually drawn and, written by one person, or, the team is fully directed by them. It's not other people making
There's usually
decisions.
a head of the team.
Yeah, writing a book, of course, is kind of you,
Mhm.
and you alone. Obviously, your editor can make changes, but the point is,
Oh yeah,
it's all
your
you.
editor, your beta reader,
And then
everybody.
when you're making like a movie, similar things, right? Like it's you. Like the actors aren't giving you feedback necessarily. Maybe every once in a while, but the vast majority is it's your say in the end, right?
Yeah.
In our group, of course, it's you and I are both part of it, and having the panels already in existence going back into the edits, do you think that has helped in sort of the negating the classic and feared spiral into I just gonna rewrite the whole thing because I've improved, right? That's a very
Oh,
classic artist issue, is the like, oh,
yes.
my art has improved, so now I look back and it's like, I can do better, so I just go into the feedback loop of constantly redrawing the same 10 entries or uploads because I just keep getting better every time I do that.
Oh, most definitely. 100%. Because having the panels and having Outcast be out for about a year now kind of gave me a guide to follow, where it wasn't me rewriting dialogue. It was me adding some extra ideas to help what was already there. The equivalent of that would be maybe reshooting a movie and adding an extra scene, or in a special edition of a book you add a prologue or an extra epilogue for closure or something like that. Or in manga they do this all the time. They add little character stories, mostly just to have fun, but it also gives you more of an idea about the character's personality as well. Like Jujutsu Kaisen, I mean, did we need the scene where Nobara's skirt goes missing and she's like beating everyone up trying to find it? No, but it gives you an idea of what their personalities are, and knowing that Gojo stole the skirt to make Yuji laugh, and this was also during the time when he was separated from his friends, you kind of see, oh, Gojo just wants to make his student laugh when he's upset and he's just trying to cheer him up. It's kind of like a read between the lines thing because it goes by so fast. That is the closest example I can really think of with that. I know for me personally, doing this, if I were left to just rewrite the script, just like, okay, here's your opportunity to rewrite Outcast, take a shot at it, it could very well end up being something totally different. I treat my characters, Mason, you should make a drinking game out of this. Don't actually, like, no,
water.
don't actually
Hydrate with
do that.
water. Make
Water,
a drinking game
yeah.
with water.
Take
Water.
shots of water, please.
Yeah, everybody get hydrated. Take shots of water.
Yes. Take hydrate. Yes, that's what I wanted to say. Take hydrate. No, seriously, take a shot every time I use the word organic. But it really is so important to me that the characters feel real, that they feel like people you could potentially meet at school, at work, just out on the street, because that's the whole idea
Good, Mason, then you're
of the
forced to
comic
hydrate.
in general. It's like, that's just the whole idea of the comic in general, is that these are people you see on the street, these are people you see at school, at work, in the cafe, like anywhere you go, and we see how society treats them. That's the whole point of this comic. So when I say I want my characters to be organic, I really do treat them that way. And to have truly organic characters, well, they could make a choice at any time that isn't the choice they made before. Hotson didn't need to agree to track down the intruder on the map. He could have said, no, I'm not doing that. I don't know you. Why should I do anything? I'm going back to my camp. He could have totally done that. It would have been in character for him to completely walk away from the callers and say, nope, I'm not involving myself in this at all. Now, would that make for a good story? Absolutely not. But it's certainly something I could have written. And I think that's why having the panels already there as like, okay, this is the story, this is what it is, and we know that the direction we're currently taking is going to get us to point B. And then from there, we're going to go to point C. And we have all this connective tissue that's going to take us to the next big arc that's going to happen. To change any of that would change the direction of the story. There are some other little changes I made as well. Like, for example, there were some dialogue changes, and those were mostly small. Like maybe instead of there was one change I made where Hodson's in the treehouse. Milano just told him to stay there, and I forget what he originally said, but he was originally talking about Milano calling him a fledgling, and then he's like, that brute. And then the line was, how dare he? Now, it's a good line. It gets the job done. He's mad at Milano. But I can use this panel to accomplish more than just he's mad at Milano. So that line changed from how dare he to how can I? And then it cuts off. So it gives the opportunity for the reader to kind of fill in the blanks. What was Hotson going to say there? How can I prove myself? How can I make myself useful? How can I get out of here? How can I, the possibilities are endless. But it does so much more than just how dare he. Like, how dare he is where that ends. You know what he's thinking. You know he's mad at Milano. But how can I? Maybe what he's thinking he could do isn't even related to Milano. And it actually ended up being one of those foreshadowing lines. That was one of the changes. It's such a short line, but that was one of the changes I was most proud of. Because just to go from how dare he to how can I, so simple, but now so much more is accomplished with just that one change. So much more is implied and learned and foreshadowed now that the line is different. And people can go back and look at that and connect the pieces along the way, along with everything else they have. And this is the most important part, because changing the line from how dare I to how can I, it doesn't ruin or retroactively discredit what has already been established. And I think that was the most important part, because you could sit here and think of a really good line, but if it contradicts something that came before, it's not going to help you. It's just going to create confusion. Um, so if you go back to make edits like that, that's absolutely 100% something to keep in mind. That's why I recommend keeping a continuity list. Sometimes even just a running list of, okay, the character did this in this episode, the character has this knowledge now, the character came to this realization, or the character reacted like this. This character will remember that they reacted like this. It sounds like a lot, and it is,
But that's why you
but
need the log.
I find it so damn helpful in keeping everything consistent, in keeping everyone in character, and just making sure it's an enjoyable experience for the reader as well. It's very interesting because Ori and I, we certainly hold ourselves to a standard for sure. But we always knew we weren't going to make ourselves crazy with it, right? Like we weren't going to go back, we weren't going to pour over things. I was going to absolutely reread my scripts and change them, but it was never going to be perfect. And it certainly still isn't. And I think that's the beauty of it. Like there's beauty in the imperfections, I think, because it's also the very first time we've done this. It's very interesting to see like how my dialogue from episode 3 differs from episode 17 at this point. I'm using webtoon numbers.
Milana will remember that. But,
Oh, absolutely.
I think what's so... I think something that the webcomic has taught, at least me, and I think it's taught Mars a little too, is sort of the... I know, and I'm pretty sure Mars has says this before, so, correct me if I'm totally off base, but we're both perfectionists at heart.
Oh, yeah.
I would call myself a rather lazy perfectionist in the sense of that, like, God, I'm lazy about it, where I'll be like, no, it's not perfect, but I'm too lazy to deal with it. But that honestly, a lot came from just working on the comic and having to have a point where I have to accept that this will not be the way that I envisioned it perfectly, or, this is not going to be perfectly right of a face or anatomy, whatever. As long as the point gets across, then it's good enough. Because with the amount of panels and things that I have to do, that I have to draw every, other week, essentially, it would never, ever be done. Because I would never... Well, there is a standard, there is a level. I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist in the sense of where, like, it can never be good enough. It definitely can be good enough. But to make it good enough does not have that amount of time, right? Like, I would say that all of my, like, monthly fan arts I did for 2023 are really good, and I'm really proud of, like, I think there's only one where I'm like, not a big fan. But all of them overall, like, I really, really did well and really did everything. But that's, like, in just physical amount of time, I think that one illustration probably took at least just a flat 24 hours. Obviously, I didn't do it all at once, but like it's just a flat 24 hours. Now imagine if every single panel took that long. Right.
Oh,
like, now imagine if every single panel was a flat, like, 24 hours. It would just never get done, right? And so that, I think, that mindset does sort of lend itself to sometimes I go back and I go, ooh, wow, this that one panel kind of, but I also know that I am not in a position to, like, redo it all. I know that we hope to have, like, a print version where I will get to pick out some that I'm like, okay, these are egregious and I need a little I need to take a little Ori time. I mean, that's what I did with redoing the first 2 entries after the prologue, because they were just such a stark difference in artistic level, right? They were essentially a different style at that point, and I didn't want the jarring of what I was like really improvement in the prologue. Like, it was a big massive jump, because that was like the first entry I had completed in a long time, because I was just doing the lines. It's really interesting, but that also leads to, because I have such like a backlog the way that I have had, that I was like coloring, well, Mars was coloring, and I was like shading and doing backgrounds of like art I had done like a year ago, basically. And
yeah, that was wild.
so it's definitely like a ooh, yeah, this was like, I definitely settled on that, like I settled there, like ooh, I settled. And every once in a while I had one where it was like, okay, this is really going to bother me, and I gave myself that ability to redo it. I mean, there's a few, and especially the earlier episodes, where obviously I didn't redo all of entry 4 or entry 5, 6, you know, and any like that, but I definitely redrew 1 or 2 panels where I'm just like, okay, this doesn't look like the character anymore. Like, this is an egregious level of like difference. And
Yeah.
I think that's what makes a difference between like a redraw or a rewrite and an edit or an update, right?
I also think the reason behind doing it definitely impacts it.
Sorry, I had to blow my nose.
Oh, okay. I'm just like, did Ori die?
If I cut out, it's because I blow my nose.
Oh, okay.
The
Oh
stream's
no,
going
you're
and I
still
cut out.
suffering?
It's better.
Okay.
Significantly.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that, but oh my
Yeah, just
gosh.
eventually it sort of, I'm out in the cold all day. I just sort of accept that I'm gonna have a bit of a runny nose. But where was I? You were talking about how the reasoning.
Yeah,
behind it.
like I think the reasoning, like you said, for the panels, there are some moments where you're like, okay, I settled on that, but I'm gonna move on. Like, that's just gonna how this panel has to be. But then for more of the character panels where like you could see their face or you could see their body or anatomy and you couldn't settle, it was like, okay, I gotta go back and fix that, because there is a difference between where I started when we first created and where your art currently is now. I think that reason to go back and redo some of the art is totally 100% valid.
But I think
And a lot of people do that when they upgrade from a canvas to originals.
Oh, definitely.
They take the opportunity to just
100%.
tidy up everything, including the story.
Or completely redo it, but you know.
Yeah. No,
I feel
well,
like
there's
a lot
one.
Of canvases, a lot of canvas to originals like completely redo the whole thing to like a major extent, because at least from the ones I've seen where I have been like around, I will say Boyfriends didn't seem to do that.
Boyfriends didn't seem to do that. Boyfriends has more story now, which I find interesting.
It does, but
it's like less shenanigans, more story.
But I don't remember them like it was like the same like panels at the beginning. Like, I don't remember there being like any, because I read it as a canvas, right? And so I don't remember it being like super updated, versus I know one that I really like, it's called Dreamwalkers, that just started coming out as an original.
Oh yeah, that one's crazy.
That one has been like completely fucking overhauled, like redone. In like, the story is a lot tighter now. Like, it moves. The pacing, I feel like, is faster, but not in like a bad way. In like a good way. Like, okay, we're getting to the meats of like what's happening. You know, like right now they have more like prologue stuff.
And I noticed people in the comments also mention like, "Oh, this wasn't in the original. I'm curious to see where this plot line goes," or something like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do have cases like that. Again, if additions bolster a story, and audiences now this is the thing. I keep saying this about audiences. You're never going to know how your audience reacts. I'm sure when George Lucas created midichlorians, he probably wasn't anticipating a massive backlash from the fans that enjoyed his work. There's just no way to really gauge how an audience is going to receive something. Unless you're the people who said, yes, let's not do the Goldie Pond arc, then you should have known better.
Yeah.
Then you should have just known better. If you got an entire arc that was kind of crucial to the plot, that's kind of your first warning sign. Don't do that. That was bad.
Really salty, guys.
I'm really salty. God, it could have been animated and it could have been beautiful. We live in the darkest timeline. But with that one, well, and also Harry Potter. We did not need to know that wizards magic their crap away because toilets weren't invented and they just went on the floor. Like, no one needed that.
Yeah,
no one needed that.
Like there's like too far of like a lore segment, right? You know, and it's interesting because I see it with, you know, with the people who enjoy Outcast. They want to know everything, and like,
oh yeah,
you know, I totally understand. But there's also the point where you, as like the creator, have to be.
But there's also limits to our own knowledge as well. Like, we haven't designed that part of the world, like the whole genetics and how that works. It's like, okay, it's there, but it's not as fleshed out as I feel people would want it to be.
I think
because I know people are sitting in the corner and like they're ready to do the My Little Pony thing where you grab a red horse and a blue horse and then you get a oh crap, what does red and blue make?
Purple.
I'm sorry. Don't hurt me.
Can you tell that Mars isn't the artist, guys? You know, if you had any doubts before.
Rude.
I just had a whole color theory conversation with Jane, I think yesterday.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my brain failed me.
No, it's okay.
I am so glad I didn't say my first guess though.
Oh, well, guys, you know that it was wrong then.
Because it wasn't
really
purple.
Wrong.
It was not purple.
Ooh. The world may never know.
See, this is why Ori hands me the color palettes and says, she hands me color palettes like you hand a kid crayons and goes, okay, now color in the pretty coloring book. Yes. Using these colors and nothing else.
Exactly.
What the hell point was I trying to make before this tangent?
How
did I get on colors?
The genetics of Outcast.
Oh
colors.
Yeah, that was that whole thing. Yeah, I was making a comparison to the My Little Pony fandom. You take a red horse, blue horse, you get a purple pony. Like, I just know people want something like that, or I suspect people want something like that, which is cool. Like, you want to make your own color, and it's cool to think of hybrids and everything. But sometimes creators just don't have the answers that audiences are looking for. Now, I think this delves into different territory personally. Whereas the redos and edits, I was talking
the midichlorian
it definitely goes with the midichlorian thing, but it doesn't go with what we've currently done. Like, as we've currently done and as we've been talking up till now, our redos and edits are to make the story more cohesive, make it a lot tighter. And it's for stuff that already exists. Like, I didn't go back and add a panel with, oh, by the way, my mother was a caller and my father was a human. That's why I have a cat nose and ears and stuff. None of that is canon. Don't try to figure out which character that is. I'm just making stuff up. That is not a clue. That is not a hint. None of them are cats. Well, in case anyone thought that was Ferrix's backstory, it's not.
Ferrix is a fossa.
His will come.
At all.
His will come. But so when you go back and do redos like that, and you add more information, you could go the Dreamwalker route where it's making the plot a lot tighter or it's making it more intriguing, or you go the George Lucas route, and I'll just use him as an example because I hate using Harry Potter as an example. I feel like it's so obvious, and I also just don't like talking about it anymore. So I'll use George Lucas. I haven't used him as a punching bag in a while. Again, I like the prequels. I don't mind the addition of midichlorians, but I can see why other people might. Because with this addition, with this change, now it's no longer, oh, if you're in tune with the Force and if you work at it, you can become a Jedi. Now it's, oh, if you just happen to roll the cosmic dice and have a midichlorian count that was high enough, you're lucky enough to have these cool powers. Can see why that might make some people angry. Now it's no longer about working hard, now it's about genetics.
But conversely, it also explains the Sith a little better.
Conversely, it does explain the Sith a little bit better, and it also explains like why Jedi exist in the first place. Like I really didn't have a problem with the midichlorians. I really didn't. I didn't understand why people were so mad about them. I can see why people were frustrated by it as a plot element and how it retroactively changes how you see the first movies. But I thought it made sense. I honestly thought it made sense. If Darth Vader is the most powerful in the universe, it makes sense that, genetically, he had, like, it's no different than somebody being more adept academically. Like, that was how I interpreted that. I don't know. That's a whole discussion for another day. I won't go off into another tangent. But additions like that, ones that change how the world works, that change how people viewed the story, because Luke Skywalker's journey from beginning to end was complete. What we didn't realize, or what people didn't realize at the time, was that Luke's story was now part of the Vader arc. Episodes 1 through 3 are a villain arc, and then you get to episode 6, now it's a redemption arc. So the whole trilogy is spent building up Vader as a tragic character. His tragedy is that Qui-Gon Jinn died. He didn't have a master that was ready to mentor him. Obi-Wan Kenobi was not prepared to mentor him. He was too strict. He was too rigid with the code. Whereas Qui-Gon Jinn, he was too new as well. Qui-Gon Jinn was a very flexible person. He went up against the council. He challenged Yoda. He went against what the higher Jedi were saying. He would have been a good match for Anakin. The real tragedy is that Anakin did not have a good master who would have led him in a good direction. I had a point with this. Where was I going?
I don't know.
You can tell how passionate I am about the prequels. I think they just get so much hate for absolutely no reason. I don't understand it. I really don't. I don't know if I ever will. But yeah, so when you're asking a fan base that's been around for a long time to now not only accept this new piece of information, but to accept that this new piece of information changes something they love, you might see some pushback. And I think that's also what we're seeing a little bit. It's not so bad, but I'm starting to hear whispers of it in the Percy Jackson community. Some people are loving the series, and then there's other people who are like, this changes how I see this character, or this character realistically would have died if they acted like that. That's why they didn't act like that in the book. Why are they acting like this now? It is very much a double-edged sword. Like I said, you cannot predict how your audience is going to receive stuff. But my rule of thumb is, at the end of the day, if you've told the story that you want to tell and you're proud of it, I see that as a win. because it is a lot to put yourself out there, and it's even more to have people want to know more about the world you've created. So, when you guys are creating and doing your thing, you take a chance. You put your trust in your audience a little bit.
I have a question, Mars.
Yeah.
Do you think that time has anything to do with it? Percy Jackson has been out for a while, both the books and then the movie, before coming into this whole new version. Do you think that if it was to come out quicker, where the books were still rather new, that maybe these changes might not have been taken so badly because people didn't have the time to sort of sit and accept them, I guess, in a way, right?
Grow attached, I
yeah.
think.
Grow attached and all these sort of things, that maybe that sort of played into the level of, like, I guess the roundabout way I'm getting to is, would you have not considered doing these, edits and stuff in Outcast, should it have been longer since, these episodes have existed?
I think unless we were doing the edits for like a printed version, I likely would not have gone back and changed it. Like, say we were into season 2 or even season 3 right now. At that point, I would look at that and say, the ship has sailed. We're not going back and changing it unless it's going to print, because like then that's our opportunity to tighten things up. But at that point, I would kind of see it as, this is what it is. Like, if people have been following for this long, are we really going to go back, change a couple lines, add 2 panels, and say, oh yeah, go back and read that, there's more information now? Maybe it would happen. Fan bases, I'm not gonna I won't make assumptions, but fan bases can be pretty dedicated. There are people who will go back to those original cuts or season 1 to get more information. Like that's how we have theory channels. That's how we have video essay channels that talk about those little nuances. Like, all the way back in season 1 of Steven Universe was actually the reveal for season 5. Like, there are people who do go back, who are that dedicated to their selected fan base. However, in that case, I personally think it would be a big ask, just because so little had changed. Like, if it were a Dreamwalker scenario and we added an entire new plot line and it was going to affect things going forward, well, one, that would just be a very bad decision, I personally think. Like, in this particular scenario, if we're in season 3 and I decide I suddenly want this plot line to exist, let me go all the way back to season 1 and write it in. That's just bad writing. Like, if you didn't do that from the start, the ship has sailed, you're not getting that back. Save it for the next story you create.
So I think that's
or
an interesting
groundwork for it later down the line. Because it's just a lot to ask people, like, hey, you're in season 3, episode 4. Can you go all the way back to season 1, episode 7 to catch this one little tiny line change? That doesn't really do anything. It just makes the author happy. For me personally, I think it's a big ask for people who are already so invested. And, sometimes there's this idea of, especially with binge culture, I find, just moving forward. Like, okay, episode's 1 done, on to episode 2, on to episode this, on to episode that. I know sometimes I'd certainly treat Webtoon as a binge. Like, I'll go through 30 episodes in a single sitting, and I'm not backtracking all the way back to season 1. Like, if there's some foreshadowing and I missed it for whatever reason, well, now I'm just like, oh, cool, this is a new plot development that I just learned about. So it all depends. It depends on your reader. It depends on how they read your work, how they look at your work, how they want to interpret it. I know our particular community, you guys are all about those details. So I doubt that having said this, you guys probably will go back and check it out.
Well, that gives me an
Which if you
interesting
thank you so much. You certainly don't have to.
But that gives me an interesting sort of like question to pose to you, Mars, and chat, of course. So I'd love to hear chat's opinion on this. I know that I, as a person, am much, much more likely to, at like most, rewatch a movie. Right? That's probably the highest level of rewatch like value, like like I'm ready to do. Right? Like it's like rarely have I seen a movie that I've enjoyed only once. Right? Then I think second would be like a shorter TV show. You know, if it's
like 12 episodes.
Like I rewatch Over the Garden Wall freaking all the time, right? You've watched Vashta Stampede, you know, again. Trigun
Stampede,
So
Megalobox. Those are my
like
two big
12
ones.
Episodes, right? It's not Naruto seasons and seasons and seasons and stuff. You know, the only reason I have watched Adventure Time so much is one, because the episodes are short.
Oh, Ori, you can't be heard over the music.
The music is so loud.
Could I be heard?
I mean, I hear you fine.
Or am I just a loud talker?
It's a levels thing, I think.
I mean, I haven't gotten a noise complaint yet, so I think I'm doing well tonight.
I think Mason would have said something if you couldn't be heard.
Okay, I'm trusting you, Mason.
My question to chat again would be, what sort of media has the most reconsumption value? Or not necessarily value, ability, I guess? Because a movie is 90 minutes to, at maximum these days, maybe 3 hours, right? That's still only a small portion of your time, right? That can be something you do one day and you're just like, yeah, I want to rewatch a movie, right? And thus, if I've liked a movie, I've definitely seen it more than once. But TV shows, yeah, if they're shorter, because like 12 episodes is only like, that's like 20 minutes an episode, so like 4 hours. That's a slightly longer movie, you know. It's not a super and crazy long time. The only reason I've rewatched Adventure Time so much, the whole thing, is just because I knew it so well already when it was like airing and re-airing that I like had it on in the background, so I didn't have to look at it all the time.
So that's an interesting question, because I'll answer it from my perspective. I agree with you 100%. I think movies are more accessible, solely because, well, one, streaming certainly helps. If you have access to the right stream service, you can find the movie you're looking for, and boom, you're in. You don't have to go to the library to rent. You don't have to buy the DVD. You don't have to pay for it. Like, it's just there. Or if you use something else, yo-ho mateys, good on ya. But it's very accessible. It's also accessible in the sense that it is shorter. It is less of a time commitment. And time is not a lot of, is not something people have a lot of these days. Like between work, school, sleep, eating, and just living life, to dedicate 2 hours of your time as opposed to maybe 6 to 7 hours for a short series, may be seen as time better well spent, but also more manageable. I know for me personally, there are some movies I revisit, but also, like you said, there's also some short series I revisit. And that's mostly because in both cases, I'm either coming back for the story, for the message, or just the characters. Like Spider-Verse, I have returned to so many times. I absolutely adore Spider-Verse. I love the message. Like that is my, when I am in like low mode and I can't convince myself to do anything, that's the movie I go to. If I'm feeling the pressures of life, oh look, here's Miles confronting the great expectations placed on him. Hashtag relatable. But it's very easy to watch because it is a shorter time commitment. Whereas something like Megalobox is very similar. I love the message. I love the characters. Like, oh my god, the freaking line. Nobody's taking tomorrow away from you. So good. But that's a much bigger time commitment because now I gotta set aside maybe 6 to 7 hours instead of just 2 or 3. Um, Amazing. It's super interesting. Video games, like you said, kind of introduce another element. They're more interactive, which leads to what I believe is more immersion because you're actively taking a role in the story.
But that's what I
Do
think
I
makes it
think they're
different.
more accessible though? It depends on how you play games. Um, I
See, I
definitely
think,
like combing through the game and
well,
finding everything. Like I'm playing Pikmin 4 right now. Not like right now, but I was playing Pikmin 4 before stream. I am literally 100%ing everything, kind of accidentally. I didn't mean to. But they make it really easy, so that's just what I'm doing.
so what I think is
And
different
I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna take a while."
than what I was trying to get at with the video game
Your mic
thing.
is still quiet, Ori,
I'm
according to
still that
Enthuse.
quiet. What the hell?
Apparently.
What the fuck?
I'm gonna turn on my sound so I can listen to you.
I don't know why I'm so quiet. Am I still really quiet?
You don't sound that quiet to
I don't
me.
sound that quiet to you? My mic is
Not when
crazy
not when
quiet,
I'm
right? Is
listening
it
on
still
Twitch.
crazy quiet right now? Well, Enthuse is on Twitch.
I sound loud though. Just a
You
skosh.
sound loud. Maybe that's the problem?
That could be.
Maybe it's just compared to Mars?
Enthuse says it's a little better.
I'm like at my mic.
Yes, I can hear that. You're like right up in my ear now.
Yeah. Is this
Because of
better?
Discord. You're like right up in my ear.
And
I
it
got the
fell.
Ori. I got the Ori ASMR, guys. Ha
Yeah,
ha ha
the
ha.
Ori Samar.
Ori Samar.
Yeah, what are we at now? Maybe my thing is wrong.
Okay, that time you sounded really quiet. You trailed off at the
Yeah,
end.
because I moved away.
Whoa! Okay, now you're really loud.
Oh, sorry. Maybe it's just in comparison to Mars. We'll turn Mars down then.
It might be. I sounded really loud. Like, guys, I don't have Twitch or YouTube sound on because I
Okay, you
need to
guys gotta
listen
tell
to
me
the
these things. I
story.
can't tell.
You gotta let us know. We're counting on you.
All right. Are we
We're
more
counting on
balanced
you.
now? Right now?
Why is it so hot in my room? Jesus Christ. I just started melting all of a sudden. Yikes. Oh, that's not
uh,
fun.
what
Okay,
was I
not gonna
going
sit
to
in front of
say?
the heater. Moving.
Oh, so the difference with the video game thing is that specifically, thank you. Thank you for popping in Enthuse to help figure that out.
Thank you,
I know
Enthuse.
Mason mentioned it, but Enthuse helped us get to the bottom of it. All right. Mason said that video games have the most replay value for them, and I think that's the difference on what I changed from saying value to like ability, I guess. With the difference specifically being that obviously if something has different paths, then you would replay it or rewatch it, right? Like if something
Oh,
is
yeah.
like, oh, I have a different way of doing it, I would try that way. I would do
Yeah.
the new way. But that's
See,
not what I'm
that's
talking about.
kind of the difference with video games and movies, and any kind of medium in general, because with like say your favorite show or something, like with Megalobox, maybe I'll have a view session where I notice something new. Maybe there's a new bit of foreshadowing, or maybe there's some
Something that
added meaning to some
you
dialogue
didn't
I didn't
notice
catch the
personally
first
before.
time.
Yeah.
But the story is still stagnant. It's not changing no matter how many times I watch it.
And that
Whereas with
foreshadowing
a
was always
video game,
there. You
I
just didn't
might
get it.
play it differently, like you said. Like with an RPG, I might choose a different class, or like say in Pikmin 4, maybe I prepare for a battle better and I don't lose all my rock Pikmin and have to go back to the cave to get more. I'm not salty. What are you talking about? Um, Maybe in Breath of the Wild, instead of spending the whole game building up again, and I just go off to him immediately. There's still an
Hold on, Mars. I'm having technical difficulties. Oh no. Discord and OBS don't like each other. Is she back?
hello.
Oh, she's back. We made it. We fixed it.
Okay, well, what was the last thing people heard?
I don't know.
You,
That's an
you guys
enthused
gotta help me
question.
out here. You guys gotta help me out here, please. Please. Okay, well, anyway, so something, this may be a stretch, but I do think with the edits made to the comic, it does change the experience a little bit. I think the best way to illustrate this is with the panel editions. Now, I made 2 edits with the panel editions.
Yes, that have now involved 3 panels because Ori has a problem.
That's okay. That's totally okay.
I don't think you're gonna be upset about it. I think it's me that now I have to do shit. I figured it out. I figured out why I'm so fucking quiet. Oh my god. Apparently my computer decided that my mic in the computer was going to be really low.
Oh.
And so like all my settings weren't working because my computer was just like, now you're gonna be really fucking quiet. All right,
okay,
we fixed
now
it, guys.
It sounds like your mouth is against the mic.
I'm
Discord.
I'm no longer that close to the mic now. I can be comfortable again. So
okay, that's better.
Whew. Now,
Yay.
now Mars and I should be similar here again. Damn.
Now we can explain the panel.
Yay, tech
situation.
issues indeed. Yeah,
Yay,
now you can
issues.
explain the panels situation.
Okay. So there are some instances where I think the experience changes reading the comic. And I think it comes with these 2, now brought to my attention that it's 3 panel changes.
Because I added 2 in one section. You were like 1 panel here, and I added 2.
Which is totally fine, because I added these panels specifically because I wanted to slow down the pacing. What do I mean by that? So let's take this panel with Aster that Ori's drawing here. The reason I added this panel, so the lead up to this scene is Houghton puts his foot in his mouth. He says, "Oh, wow, you a caller had a job? Wow." Like, he's a bit of an ass. So Aster has his reaction where he's like, "I had to take care of my family and put food on the table. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Of course I had a job." It was a very quick reaction. And the way the panels were laid out meant that in terms of the timeline in the story, Aster immediately turned around as soon as Houghton said this. Like, Houghton said, "Oh, wow, you had a job?" And Aster just snapped around and was like, "I had to take care of my..." Like, shut up. What do you know? That was one vibe, but I wanted to go for a different one. I wanted to show how much these words really hit Aster's core. Maybe he's heard them before. Maybe this is his first time having to confront this. Or maybe he wasn't ready to hear something like this. Like, he's on the island. This is his safe space. So I asked Ori, would it be possible to add a panel where we see Aster's back and he just freezes? He's totally tense. He freezes in place. He doesn't know what to do. And then the next panel where he turns around and says, "I had to take care of my family, make sure like we had food." that was more the vibe I was going for, because now it shows how much these words impact Aster. And it gives not only him as a character a chance to really feel those emotions, it's also a pause for the audience as well because of how the panel is laid out. Now we see this moment of time that's frozen, just looking at his back, looking at how tense he is, and we're sitting with that uncomfortable feeling for 2 panels now. We see him stop and we see his back. We're sitting with the uncomfortableness. We're in that moment with him. We feel how just disgusting these words are. I thought that was really important to include, and I think it changes the experience of the scene. Because now Aster's no longer snapping at Hotson, he's taking a moment and then he addresses it.
Which
I
also
think
fits his
that's
character better.
Oh yeah, 100%. I am sorry, I have to
Um,
mute myself for one moment. Give me a sec.
Well, that's fine. Enthuse has a question that I will ask to you while you mute yourself. And that is, when you go back and edit, what are you looking for? Art issues / text issues / plot issues, etc., etc. So Mars can chime in when she gets back. For me, it originally started out as specifically spelling mistakes. Overall, there's a fair bit of them, because I'm one person and it's hard when there's no spell check. But I also know that there's a couple art mistakes, like just consistency mistakes, very minor ones, just in like character design that I don't want to have them be inconsistent. So those are the things I wanted to fix. Hello. Were you here, or were you gone?
Oh, I was here. I heard your comment.
Good. So you can answer now.
Yeah, so to answer your question, Enthuse, I am most certainly not looking for art issues, because I think everything Ori draws is amazing, so I'm never going to see anything. I am very much a biased party. I am not the one to look for that kind of stuff.
Which is good. Honestly, it's the thing you should have.
She tells me Sinnott's freckles are missing in half the panels, and I was like, oh, really? I never noticed. At all.
That's a fix I have to do.
So, yeah, I am definitely not looking for art issues.
But honestly,
what I
it
do
reassures
look for,
me.
Well, considering, so I wouldn't call myself the average reader, because I'm certainly looking at a story differently, but I am the average art consumer. So
yeah, it gives me faith.
I feel like it gives Ori a baseline for how everyone else will look at things. It
definitely makes, because I'm obviously looking at it as the person who made the designs and drew it and all that, has been looking at it a ton, and it's like, oh goodness. But then when Mars is like, what do you mean this looks fine? I was like, okay, if you think that, then everyone else will think that, or vast majority of other people will think that. So I guess I can live with it. Get yourself a Mars if you're an artist.
Hell yeah.
Need a writer. Make sure your writer isn't an art consumer critic person. You don't need that. That would be rough, man. You don't need 2 of you.
Exactly. And Ori's not a writer, so it balances.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, yes, the plot. Woo.
Yes, text issues, spelling, grammar, I'm certainly looking for. The biggest place I noticed that Sinnott phrases his sentences very weirdly. I think I was just tired. I wrote a lot of those episodes back during grad school and stuff, like back when I was still settling in, so I can see why some of this happened. I think my brain just went on holiday. So I went back, retooled the sentences. They actually sound like English now, so that's a plus. Yay! As for plot issues, so far, and I'm gonna knock on wood because I don't want to jinx myself, no plot issues. But if there's some additional dialogue that I want to add, some thought bubbles, or a journal entry strip, I will add that, because what I'm doing is I'm not making a script from scratch and then Ori's returning to it. I'm using what we have in the comics, what's posted on Webtoon Tapas Global Comics, as a foundation. and I'm going through that and seeing, okay, can I add something here? Should I put something extra here? Is another line going to make this conversation make more sense? Is more dialogue going to make this interaction make more sense? It's kind of like you already have the foundation for the building. You essentially have the house done. Now you're just putting in the little decorations. Like everything is there. It's got the furniture, it's got the bedding, it's got the couch, the everything. Now here's a photo frame. Now here's a flower vase. Like just little extras that I think really bring it together. Oh wow, that was a good analogy. I should save that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of proud of that. Not gonna lie.
Put it back in the
I'm
vault.
I'm gonna have to tuck that into the vault to
Yeah,
use later.
keep it.
Yeah, that was a good one.
File it away in the brain filing cabinet. Has there been any? Yep,
No. Yeah, I got this one. I'm on Twitch. I can see all the chats.
All right.
I am paying attention. You said you're busy, so I am paying
Good.
attention.
I'm happy about it.
Doing what you pay me for, okay?
Yes, what I pay her for.
So, no, there has not been additional lore or plot that I've had to retcon, which is honestly really, really nice. I mean, the only thing we've had to retcon is now Hotsun knows how to spell opposable.
That was never
was
a
never
lore
really
thing.
added.
That was an Ori thing.
That was just an Ori thing.
That was just an Ori not having spell check, man, and being a terrible, terrible speller. I don't know if you've watched, the Ace Attorney videos or anything, here, I'll let you 6 in for a little secret, right? When you watch any of the the game videos, right? I do the subtitles, and I'm bad at spelling, and also there's no spell check there, and so I always make a mistake, even though I go over it like once more after everything's done. I go over it again. I still miss spelling mistakes, and it's really annoying. But the point is that I make purposeful spelling mistakes at specific consistent places, but it makes that even grammar Nazis like Dylan, they kind of breeze by when he's just vibing. So you know what? It works. Big brain moves.
Perfect. Enthused, to answer your question, yes, Hotsun did go to school. He had a pretty typical upbringing when it came to his academics. He's a smart cookie. He's going on a research expedition and everything. He's got his own journal. He knows a lot of SAT words, so
Yes.
he's got it made. But yeah, I think so to answer your I'd say just high school, honestly. I don't think I would call that, if I had to equate it to something, I would call this research expedition his thesis project if I had to. It's more so he's just doing this to prove himself. Gotta be honest, formalized higher ed is not something we've thought about. However, when it comes to callers and the world we've created, because as you've seen all the way up to this point in the Cine Hangout, we're kind of piecing together callers aren't exactly treated the best. You can kind of guess who goes into higher education and who doesn't in our universe.
And I would definitely think about higher education much more in early Oxford days vibes. Right.
I think it in
very much
days. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much a privilege. It's very much a thing only afforded to very specific, groups of people. And it's definitely not a necessity to be considered an expert on something in any case. Right. Yeah. A lot of early, what we consider very fathers of science and botany and stuff didn't really have college or university or anything. So that's sort of the era. Think of Hotsun in a Darwin era, right? That's sort of that sort of thing.
Definitely where
it's if you have the money to go on an expedition and do official-esque sort of stuff, you could be considered rather revered, and thus, of course, down the line, have your findings found and been oh yes, this is Now he teaches Linnaeus, even though he had kind of crazy stuff about cutting off tails and shortening necks and stretching necks and everything. But, he's still part of it.
He laid the foundation. And that's the
we
position
learn about the people who put silk underwear on frogs. Like science at this point. It's what allowed us to understand that both the man and the woman are needed in order to make a child, because we put silk underwear on male frogs so that when they did the deed, they couldn't get it in, and thus couldn't have babies. Yep.
We needed frogs to learn that. We didn't have years of human
existence. No. You misunderstand, Mars. A long time ago, they thought that if they threw the male seed, manure, and a bunch of other shit into a big pit, that a baby would just come out of it, and that the woman, because obviously like very misogynistic views and all of that, was completely useless, and it was just biologically unnecessary. She couldn't have possibly give anything to it.
I would not say no to having the baby outside the body.
Oh yeah, no, but they did. But they did that a lot.
That does sound better.
And obviously, no babies grew from these pits.
Wow.
And basically, what we.
The story's nuts.
There you go. Yeah, according to the textbook that Enthuse read this morning, in 1800s Europe, they thought that both sex cells were created by men. Yeah, no, they thought that the woman was completely useless, literally just a holding tank for a child that could easily be replaced, and completely unnecessary. But it wasn't until the sort of frog underpants experiment that we sort of got down to brass tacks and started figuring it out.
Human nature.
Other fun science things we've done to animals is ant stilts.
Okay, you can't just say that and not explain.
Basically, it's what allowed us to understand how like ant pheromone tracking back to their hive is not the word, like their anthill, their colony, and to food and follow other ants works, because we put ants on stilts, and the ants on stilts got lost because they were too far away from the pheromone path on the ground.
Where's the line?
Yeah. I don't know the exact height, but it has to do with that. Because at one point we thought like ants could just do it. They just like knew where the hive, like the colony was or something. But no, instead we figured out that they're like actually following like a scent trail, a pheromone trail with ant stilts. Those are the two big funny science things that I could think of off the top of my head. Science experiments.
Frog underpants and
frog underpants. But the frog underpants era is like the vague level of science, right? And what I mean by that is sort of in this universe that Outcast exists, that the world of Outcast exists in, we have certain I guess most of the advancement has been medicinal, but you can think of it as more of like an accident, where it's like the idea of like maybe they don't necessarily specifically understand how germs work, but they definitely are like, no, it's important to be clean, right? Like it's important. Like I don't want dirt and shit in.
Will help this.
Yeah, like you don't want to mix stuff. So it's like it's definitely not the same
kind of deal
route that our science went, right? Because honestly, like medical science in our world developed really fucking late, and so I would say that, and it would make sense actually in the way that our world works. But the medicinal science has sort of been more of the focus in the world of Outcast, where these sort of general botanical outside studies have been less of the focus, if that makes sense.
Like, then it's working with a mortar and a pestle. Think, okay, if any of you are watching the Apothecary Diaries, think that kind of medicine.
Yeah, but they have, like, closer to germ theory than we did at that time. Like, we have, like, sort of an understanding of, like, infection, but, like, a very remedial one, but one where it's not just like we're just using instruments on everybody. Yeah, exactly, Enthuse, exactly. into sanitation,
Basically,
but not
yeah.
like mechanics and factories and, these sort of things. A
Yeah.
lot, if not all of it, is still manual labor.
Yeah. Canning is still a thing. They have paper, so they need factories
Yeah,
to make
so
that. Like, I always kind of imagine this like pseudo-industrial revolution, to be honest. Like right on the
yeah,
cusp.
doing
Because we
everything by
see
hand.
in the flashback there are factories. There
We're
are
talking like you go to a blacksmith who makes nails. Like that's how you get your nails. They're like
we're talking like this is
hand-hammered
before
nails.
the first Piggly Wigglies. This is before the first supermarket. Everything's its own niche little store.
Yeah, 100%.
Which God bring back. I miss town.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, so I mean, and that's one of those things that like we don't strive to make crazy in-depth information on, right? That's sort of a lore element. I think the best way I like to put it is fairy tale, right? Where it's like no fairy tale has a specific timeline that you can pinpoint, or very few of them that you can
That's
like
kinda
pinpoint
like
on a thing.
everywhere and nowhere, you know?
Yeah, it's adjacent to time, and that's how you have to think of Outcast. It's a fantasy world in the sense of that it's not trying to follow our actual timeline in human history at all, and it is adjacent to how our world works.
And the importance lies like not so much.
Yeah, 100% it is. It would not
And-
exist. Widespread higher, it would not exist in these universe.
The importance of the story more so lies in it's less did Hudson go to high school and more what does he want for himself? What is he trying to achieve? How is he going to achieve it? How are the other characters affected by the way they're treated by society? There's definitely more of a focus on that because it is character driven.
There's also an institution that we haven't really discussed that I don't know if we've mentioned it on stream, I think, before, Mars and I.
Certainly mentioned it.
But
I know we have.
The way the world works, this institution is very central. So they would control a lot of sort of the,
They would
people
regulate
part
everything.
of that would have a lot more in the education side of it. Sort of like how it works today in a way. They have like opportunities like that.
About it, actually.
Yeah, you have
That
opportunities like that.
Damn
But
it.
this sort of essentially governing body in a way, whole thing, would be your association to them would be much more on the class level than anything else.
Yeah.
That's sort
Like,
of where
if
that
you're
would
in
go.
with this group, like you're doing well in life.
Yeah.
Maybe
Or
not
at
mentally,
least
but
decent.
certainly
Yeah.
monetarily.
Pre-regulation is a good way to put it as well. There's definitely not like the FDA or things like that. There's definitely not like super permittings and stuff, but there would be like tax collectors, like Robin Hood. There would be like the tax collector guy. You gotta pay your dues, etc.
Oh yes, the callers definitely have to pay their dues. And we see why. We'll get there. We'll get to port soon, guys. I promise.
No, I don't promise very
Wait-
soon. Soon in
wait
the
a little
story,
longer.
not soon in time, please.
Wait.
Hold on. Chill. Slow down.
We'll get there. I swear.
It is certainly
I swear.
happening.
It is happening. It's happening at a nice, steady pace.
Well, commits tax fraud at entry 7. He's already committing tax fraud?
They're already
They kind of live off the
basically living broke.
they live off the grid, man.
They live off the grid, and then they go into port to do business like on the down low. They're already like
down low in quotation marks. Though y'all will see. Y'all will see.
You'll see.
I don't want to talk too much
Can't
about it
reveal.
because I don't want to spoil the whole vibes.
Exactly. And guys, we have a whole anniversary stream coming up. So we will most certainly
we'll
talk
definitely
more.
talk about Outcast questions. There will also be Outcast trivia.
Absolutely.
Very important. We'll have so much more trivia now.
Oh, we'll have so much trivia. It's fantastic.
Well, before we had to like really squeeze
guys.
those first 3 entries dry of trivia.
We did. So
But
sad.
now we have freaking 4 whole completed entries and more. 2 more.
I know. Ah. You know, it was really funny. In looking at the Aster and Senate hangouts, I did find some stuff I wanted to add and tighten up. But when Ferrix's first hangout episode came out, I was like, "Ah, this is good.
This is it.
fine.
This is the shit."
This
What
is
objects
peak.
were on Hotson's checklist? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we can definitely have a question like that. That is important.
That's what we did. No, that was like a question we did before. The first time, Enthuse is reminiscing about our launch trivia.
We can add that question again and see if people remember.
Well, I have all the original questions already.
How dedicated are they? We gotta test them.
Yeah. But this will be interesting. You absolutely do not remember.
You don't?
You gotta reread it, Enthuse. Yep, exactly.
You should. There be some edits and reviews coming out.
Those won't be till the day of, though. So, well, probably the day before.
But if they come out the day before, then
it'll be
the day before.
It'll
it's like
try to be the day before. I make 0 promises, is all I'm saying.
It's gonna be interesting. I'll be in the second week of my internship, and it's gonna be Outcast anniversary. Like, this is nuts.
How do you guys like the Hotson bot, huh?
Yeah, what do you guys think of that? I had the honor of creating some dialogue for Hotson.
The honor like someone else was gonna do it.
I'm sorry?
You say the honor like anyone else was gonna go and be able to do it.
I could have given it something generic.
Oh, it was never gonna be something generic, Mar. I don't know. Who are we working with here? Ori adding freaking extra panel.
True.
But yes, you love the Hotson bot? Oh, I'm so glad. It's so silly. It is very silly.
Oh, I'm so glad.
The what now?
I got it.
Amazing.
And there is a Hotson bot in the chat now.
In the Discord.
I forget what channel he's in.
He's specifically at the moment. Technically, he can be used for literally anything if we wanted him to, but he is specifically used in hot off the presses to announce all Outcast related updates and posts and etc.
So he hangs out there. If you want, you can scroll back and see what he said so far.
Yes, there won't be new stuff every single time. He has preset stuff for each type of upload that happens. The spicy art text killed you.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm so glad. I can't look, but you can.
If you want.
If you want. I just imagine him completely flustered and wide-eyed at that. Like,
okay,
I can't do it. But if you want to, go for it.
So, those who have read the most recent comic update have definitely seen the new end card, and I noticed that apparently I have a time in the frickin' spicy art one. When you look at the end card, the two of them are like just Senate and Hotson, identical but different.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So if you scroll down.
Oh, I gotta look at this now.
Yeah, and it's just when it says medic.
Oh yeah, they're both laying
They're
down.
both like in the same direction. The whole thing. I just can't.
Just Sushi Boy and the researcher. Poor little sushi boy.
Oh, hold on. There it goes. Woo.
Um,
Yeah. They're just the same. They're just lying down the same way. And what's hilarious is that I know I have at least one more Hotsun like that. I'm 99% sure.
March one,
Huh?
where he's all. It's the March comic where he's all tied up. He's in the exact same position.
No,
isn't
that's
he?
this one. That is this
Oh,
one.
that's the March one.
This is the
Oh,
March
shit,
one
what's
with
the
the
other
first
one?
little thing. I'm pretty sure I will briefly see. I won't look too hard. But I'm
Meanwhile,
pretty
chat,
sure.
if you have questions about Redo's edits regarding Outcast or regarding media in general, please field them our way. We're more than happy to answer. Off the top of my head, I feel like I've said everything I wanted to say regarding the redos and edits, as they relate to our comic and as they relate to my feelings on media in general. Again, field questions my way. I'm more than happy to answer. I love answering questions.
Yeah, there is one similar in the comic one, because that's not the comic one. That is the single image one. So both March ones
Oh,
from
okay.
last year. There's one similar.
Gotcha.
It's not as exactly the same. It is slightly different, but still, I love that comic so much. Still, though, so I go back and I was like, top tier shit.
I adore it. It's great.
Top tier stuff.
I had fun writing spicy Milano Hotsun Leprechaun poetry, so
Yeah, you guys totally
was a good
want that.
time. You guys want that, right? This is something you want?
Only $6. Only $6, and you get a ton.
Deal.
This is the shilling right here, right now.
Uh,
This is our shilling for the day. Join the
This is
Ko-fi.
time to take a shot of water, Mason.
That was a crazy string of words, Mars. Yeah.
I said a lot of words.
I think the
Probably
string.
Milano Hotsun Leprechaun.
Yes, spicy Milano Hotsun leprechaun poem. I think that was the string of words. That was a crazy streak of words.
Just as a writer, you end up hearing and reading and writing things that you think you'll never encounter. And then you do, and you realize this is your life.
Yeah, I was on a kick, apparently, and then, Mars was like, poem? And I was like, hell yeah. And here we are.
It wasn't even planned. I just started sending Ori poetry related to her drawings, and she was like, you want to put that on the Ko-fi?
I'm like, can we add that in?
She's like, can I monetize this?
Well, the spicy is what sells, so, I have to have like a little backlog when I'm able to.
What they want.
Like currently all the spicy art that's been going up for like 2 months now, and will be a total of 3 months, is just my ability. One day I was just like, yeah, here we go. The sad
I
thing
gotta
is,
admit, I saw really nice couple poses when I was looking at some OTPs, so if you need some inspiration, send some poses your way.
I mean, I am always game at any point in time. I'm finally planning ahead, but that makes it a little difficulter.
Ooh.
Well, I told you about the Valentine's Day one, so very fun.
Yes. Oh, so fun. I love it.
But,
we're just rolling through the year.
It's nuts. I can't believe it. It honestly is surreal that it will have been a year.
It's crazy. We were talking about we were having our business meeting the other day, and all of a sudden we're just like, yeah, we have enough entries to get us to June, and it's like, holy crap, we're talking about June already. Like, that's half the year gone.
Yeah, okay, and Mars says that, and Ori's over here like, I have been slacking for 4 weeks now. Paid. My backlog is shrinking. I should have passed June. That's where Ori's brain goes.
Oh, poor Ori.
Such is life.
I certainly need to edit the part 6 script.
Hopefully
So
I'll have the same vacation I usually have in March and April, and be able to do those then as well, and just keep the cycle going. It'll be good. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. They were playing.
You hear that? Or is it just me?
If you heard it, they should be able to hear it. Yeah, I don't
hear
know
that,
what they're
guys?
doing.
Hearing for Outcasts.
I don't know what they're doing. They certainly are doing something.
Into it.
They were setting up.
They're very enthusiastic
for Warhammer 40k, but to my understanding, they weren't playing it because it takes a long time. But maybe they ended up doing something else. I don't know. I'm very certain that was Dylan's voice.
that was definitely. I heard that
screech.
loud and clear.
Yeah, it was very loud.
It was like, whoa!
I'm thankful we have like super nice neighbors, and they stay up kind of late too. So honestly,
Oh, that's a blessing.
we're very, very lucky here. The lady upstairs, she's super nice and super sweet, super cute dog as well. So all the bonuses.
Amazing.
And yeah, it's been pretty good.
Oh, so good.
All right, anything else on redos? I think the one so a lot of sort of, and Mars kind of opened with this, but a lot of creators will give you the flat or slightly changed advice of never like redraw ever. Like don't do it. And the reason is because it is very easy to get into the cycle of I've improved, so let me go back and redraw all this old art now, and then you just get into the cycle of then you redraw those 10 panels and then you've improved, and so you go and you do it again and you do it again and again and again. I think that to just say never redraw your old panels is not feasible or, worth it even necessarily. It's not always the right move. And even when you put asterisks, I think it's harder to, you're just kind of listing a bunch of stuff at a certain point. Like, oh, if you do this or that. I think the best way to look at it is you should never redraw solely for the fact that you could do it better. There's a difference between as an artist, have just physically improved. I have just improved in my ability to draw, or my style has changed a little bit, or etc., etc. That should not be the reason. The only reasons that I have actually done any redraws is the big redraws was because it specifically was a jarring change. If we didn't have the prologue, I probably never would have redrawn them. Now, I'm very, very happy I did.
When we added that.
Well, okay. I'm very, very happy that I did redraw entries, entry 1 and entry 2, page 1, because there's honestly a ton of my favorite, panels are in just those two entries. They're really great, and I'm really proud, and they look way, way better. But the reasoning, it wasn't just I improved, because on those first two were drawn way 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't even know at this point. A long time ago. Very, very different Ori at that point in art.
Ocean looks so different too. He had a different style. His bangs
it was
swept
all
a
really
different way.
different. It was
The
all really all over
stripies
the
were in a
place.
different direction. It was
all
what a
over
time
the
to be
place.
alive. His Aoge was on the wrong side of his head.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. But the reasoning was because since I had drew the prologue, which wasn't a redraw, that was the first time I was drawing it, and that was at my new and improved level of art capability and style, having the immediate next entry be so jarringly different, not gradually different, but so jarringly different,
was night and day. Ori also developed a new shading style along the way. Like,
Well,
it
that was
was
actually
nuts.
after that. But
Oh, was it?
yeah,
Oh, you're
yeah.
right. It was.
So that was still in cell shading, but there was a couple that I still I was playing with the slightly softer shading that I do now, because there's a couple of the panels that are like the big, like, important panels, like where Hotsun is looking up at Milano in the bush, or like the panel where Milano is holding Hotsun's like jacket. Those have like a softer shading style just in general already. So I was certainly playing around with it. But the point is that it wasn't solely because, oh, I could do better. It was, wow, this compared to the one you have to read in order is such a jump that it could be startling for some readers. Because I know as a reader myself that I have seen like the art, like the cover art of like a comic, and then like a significant early portion of it is like in black and white, or a very different style, or obviously, you know, very old compared to they've recently updated the cover, right? And it is sort of like a, okay, I have to really like the first couple episodes story-wise in order to like get myself to read the rest, because the art style is important. And so it was a big concern that I had with Outcast, was having that happen to people. They would read the prologue and then they would immediately jump to one, and it was like literal night and day.
It's like, what happened? What changed?
Exactly. And so I was worried about that. All the other single panels that I have redrawn have been specifically gone through Mars. This doesn't look like the character, right?
Yeah.
It has like the character's
it made
features.
all the more hilarious, because I know there were some entries where I did the coloring, I did my flats, and then I sent it to you and you were like, yeah, so I changed this panel and redrew it.
Yeah, there's a couple. I think there was one where
think it
I
was the
felt
Ferric
so
shot.
bad. It must have been. Ferric's, I will say, was the hardest to get consistent for the longest. But
He
there
just
was definitely
has so many features that just aren't human.
He just, yeah,
where
he's
it's like,
just a lot.
draw it in profile is different, to
You
do
know,
a lot is different.
He's just a lot. But I remember this one panel that Mars specifically like sends me to do the backgrounds and the rest of it after flatting it, and is like, wow, I was so happy with this panel. Like, oh, like she was so proud. She thought it was so cool. And then
I think I even posted it to my social media to hype up the comic, because I was like, this looks so good. I'm gonna show it off. And then she was like, yeah, no, I'm changing that.
I had to tell her in business meeting, like, I'm really sorry. The flat did look really good, but my lines sucked. I had to redo it. I was like, Mars, I'm like, so sorry. I'm like, Mars, it did look really good, but I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with it.
So pain.
Very
so
pain.
pain.
I'm so sorry.
Very pain.
I'm so sorry.
How dare.
I know.
How dare you
I
worry.
ruined her day.
You did.
Ferrix looks older. So actually, this is very funny that you mentioned this, Enthuse.
Oh my god. Everyone got a growth spurt.
Yeah, they all look significantly older. Because I got better at art. And so they all don't look like really young.
Children.
Let's see.
Can you show like the original Milano?
Yeah.
Because his, I feel, was the most obvious. Like, I remember seeing the redesign for Milano and saying, oh, good night, Mason. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for hanging
for your
out.
questions. Thanks for hanging. I remember seeing the original Milano compared to the updated Milano design. And I was like, okay, before Milano was a boy. Now he's a man. Like, this is a man.
Exactly. I was trying to think which one I like. Hold on. I know there's one I really... Okay, this one I really like. So, this is the original. And then I'll show the redraw, because I really love the redraw on it as well. I think it should be here. In this one? I just have like single pages, so I'm trying to find it really small. Yeah, okay. So this is Milano now. Look at him. God. Hello, Nicole. We're going
Hi,
over
Nicole.
Outcast stuff and like looking.
We
Look at
did
that.
kind of finish our talk about redos and eds, but if you
But
have
this was-
questions about that, feel free to ask.
Yeah,
please.
if you have any questions about redos and edits, but right now we're just kind of chilling,
Oh,
talking
Jesus
about Outcast.
Christ.
But yeah, so this is the old one, and
Yeah,
this is the old one, and then
wow.
also the font is terrible.
Yeah,
but then
no.
that was the new one, which is still like a year old at this point, right? So, freaking epic as hell. Like he looks great.
It's
Another
crazy.
good one is so
Absolutely
this
nuts.
is the Milano reveal panel. And then that's the modern one, and this is the old Milano reveal panel. Like, wow. Whew. I got much better. Oh yeah, way more epic. I think my favorite panel that got updated and became one of my favorites. So this is the old one, but the new one is one of my favorite panels that I've still to this day ever drawn, that I still am like so happy about. I think it should be here. Backgrounds are very hard. I improved with backgrounds way much.
Were the most challenging,
Yeah, by
especially
far.
with this unique color palette that we had going on in the background.
Yeah.
Ori, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
So we chose the trees and the plant life to have a very specific color because there's a whole scientific
Chef's
reason for
kiss.
that. If
Yes.
you want to explain that, please go ahead. I certainly don't know enough. But in terms of the art style, like these are some very bright, vivid colors, and it could very easily look like Dr. Seuss truffula trees, which in the beginning they did kind of look like that.
Yeah.
How did you find a balance where it fit with the world we created and the palette that we had? Like, how did you balance those colors?
Nicole, right? Like it's cute, it's fine. Like, I'm not upset by it, but Milano looks like he's 12, and then what it was and what it is. Like,
I remember being so impressed by this panel too.
I love this.
Because I was like,
this
I
one is
can't
one
draw
of my favorites. This one is one of my favorites ever. Like, I literally can't think of one that tops this, if I'm being honest. I also really love this panel a lot. This panel never existed. This has no like exact analogous, and the last one is actually from the prologue, which
welcome
is
back, PCM.
Welcome back, PCM, which is in the original entry 1. So there was this panel, which was from the original entry 1, and it ended up being the last entry, the last bit of the prologue.
Oh, what a difference.
Where is this? Yeah, I love that too. Oh goodness. Come here, please. So that was the old one to this. Just like, oh, the colors,
the final that you guys got to see.
How much did I redraw after the prologue? So the prologue replaces a never ever before seen entry 1 because there was never a prologue before. The original first entry was what I'm showing you right now. This is one of the last panels of it. As you can see, it's kind of very different in how we did journal stuff and everything like that.
And this got scrapped.
This got completely scrapped. It doesn't exist. Technically, the events of it happened.
The events,
but they don't matter.
Are canon. They still happened.
Yeah, but they don't matter.
It's all explained and shown in a different order.
Yeah. And then So we did the prologue instead, and we reused this, panel basically. Obviously, I redrew it, but the format was really good.
Accomplish way more and set up the themes and everything a lot better.
And then I redrew the next 2 entries, which are now the current entry 1 and entry 2, page 1. So entry 2, page 1 is the longest entry we have by far.
Oh yeah.
And it's really painful.
Although, I don't know, Ori, I saw that script the other day, and you were plotting 41 panels in a single entry before we broke it up, so...
Yeah, but we broke it up. Entry 2, page 1 has 60-something panels, Mars. 60-something panels, okay? It's not
Right.
40, it's 60. Because I remember talking to you and being like, the first couple I didn't want to die, Mars, but this one I want to die. And you're like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. And then we counted. I was like, this is fucking a double episode, man. And I was like, we don't really want to cut it up, so I just...
How the hell did we do this?
Just did it. I just managed it. Maybe we'll put up the old ones on Ko-fi. Maybe we'll do that.
I feel like that would be a good reward.
That can be a fun anniversary thing as well.
Yeah. Throwback. See what's up with that.
How many canvases do I use per page? Yes, I use 1 long canvas, which is about 1,000 by 40,000 pixels. Sometimes it's 50,000 pixels. It depends. Every once in a while. Twice. I think it's twice, possibly more, but definitely twice that I can remember off the top of my head, have I had to use another canvas because it wouldn't let me make it longer. And that was mostly because I had long panels. It wasn't because I had more panels. It was just certain panels took up more space. So a full page panel, a full end-to-end panel sometimes takes up more space or something.
Sometimes their computer struggles. Occasionally.
So sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. I'm not exactly sure what causes it or not. I will say that 90% of the time it's pretty chill, actually. Knock on wood. I do sort of have copies and delete stuff, as I go through. When I send Mars the lines, I try to delete the sketch layer, which is all the sketches, the sketch folder, which is all the sketches. So that definitely frees up an amount of layers that
just
the
makes
computer can handle.
Way more manageable. Then I'm adding a whole bunch of color layers as well.
Yeah. And, yeah. So this is, extra dead space that I'll, cut off at the end, but I just had to, reposition where all of this went compared to each other. But yeah, so honestly, every once in a while my computer is like, today I don't like you. But most of the time it's okay.
It was like that earlier tonight, actually.
Yeah, literally tonight it was just I don't want to run Clip Studio Paint efficiently. I want to do it bad. And it was okay, that's fine, I guess.
But why?
See, versus right now it's running at chill, so I don't know. I don't know why it hates me sometimes.
Computer does what computer does.
Yeah, it's very weird. So I don't know. So it's very helpful to see the whole thing. All of the ones that are redrawn, I think plus 1, which is entry 2, page 3. It's 3 or 4. I think it's 3. Now I have to check. Oh, it might actually be 5. Because originally I didn't use Clip Studio Paint when we first started doing the comic. I used Medibang Paint.
That's right.
And Medibang Paint was used, I believe, up to entry 4. Entry 2, page 4. is what was still in Medibang paint. And you can kind of tell by how the panel borders look. Because they're different.
It does look different.
Because they're hand-drawn there. And they're not hand-drawn in the other ones.
Yeah, Clip Studio just gave us so many more options for that, which was nice.
Oh, am I still
kind of streamlined things a bit.
Oh no, 5 is still in it. So 5 and 6 are still in Clip Studio Paint, it looks like. So, but yeah, and so it just sort of improves after a time. But I did it a lot more in. Okay, so you can see like this one. I'm gonna zoom out. Control Shift minus. So when I used Medibang paint, I didn't go the full length, like the really long canvas, and then cut it up later. I had to do it in individual canvases that were the size that Webtoon would take you to cut up, because at the time when we were starting making the comic, Webtoon wouldn't automatically cut it up for you. It will now, but it used to not do that for you, and you would have to cut it yourself.
So there's been some changes with the actual platforms we've been releasing on.
Without Photoshop or Clip Studio, I had no in-software way to cut them down. And then there was a tool later found, but you can kind of tell by how the blend looks. So you can tell that this is like this was like an in-between of a page here, because I had to like merge them somehow, right? And there was no freaking way I was gonna line anything up really good. Like this here is like, this is kind of off-center and off-center because like I had to blend it like without looking at each other, right? So it was like sort of things like that, and thus the panel spacing had to be within like those parameters. So the panel spacing is kind of awkward a little bit.
And it did all still come together in the end.
Oh yeah, it still came together pretty well. This one was tough to do like that, but yeah, that's the whole sort of thing. So it all came together. But as you can see, this is an old entry that I had done way before I did the prologue, but I did redraw like 1 or 2 of them. So yeah, so that's how it works. Every once in a while I redrew something.
And that's the behind the scenes lore.
If you were to make a comic, you'd be tempted to redraw every day because it's satisfying. You don't have to do a whole new episode from scratch.
I know Ori's got feelings about that.
I definitely agree to a certain extent that it's like, cool, brain like power down. I don't have to think. I hate the thumbnail phase more than anything, if I'm being completely honest. It's just not how my mind wants to work. I have to force myself to do it, but I know that it's better when I do it, but I don't want to. And so it's very annoying in that sense. But I definitely can feel the sort of like redraw temptation. I will say that at this point in our comic journey, I don't feel it incredibly strongly. I feel it more in panels than entries. Every once in a while, there's like a panel where it's like, ooh, I definitely didn't do this right. There's I know one off the top of my head is that there's a panel of Sinnit holding a bag of the sun root, and it's very heavy, and he's struggling. He's exerting himself to pick it up. The first one was really bad, and that was one of the ones where like Mars colored it, and then I had to change it because I like couldn't deal with it.
Nobody knows the troubles I've seen.
And what I actually did is, so I wasn't living with Dylan yet, and I needed to do it before I would see him in person because of some reason that I can't remember. Like we weren't gonna hang out that week or something, and I like needed to get it done. And so I've like texting me on the phone. I'm like, Dylan, I need you to pick up like a garbage bag, like it's really heavy, because I needed like a good reference, because that was my biggest problem, is like I couldn't find a reference of the pose that I wanted. And that's why you get yourself
Just
a Dylan.
getting a hold of the reference makes
So
all
this
the world
is
of
the whole thing.
difference.
You get yourself a Mars. So if you want to write a comic, if you want to make a comic, I suggest two things. You get yourself a Mars. Whether you're writing your own or not, you still get yourself a Mars, because the Mars, in addition to doing the writing in this case, also gives the good, I guess unbiased in a sense, art support, where they can tell your Mars.
Oh no,
can
it's
tell
very
you,
biased. I think
well, I guess
everything
it's
is amazing.
biased. But is it biased in the sense? But like, you think a lot of art is amazing. You don't like it just because it's mine. Like I'm still good. But the point is that
True.
the Mars is not overly critical about the art. You will be overcritically about your art.
The
But
Mars thinks everything is amazing because Mars can't draw for shit.
Yeah, and so the
And I am
Mars
impressed with
gives you that
anyone who
sort of
can draw.
level of, no, that's I didn't notice XYZ, or no, it looks like the character to me, and you can breathe that sigh of relief of like, okay, maybe it'll never be good
Or
for
he's
you.
telling me Sinnett's missing half his freckles. I'm like, he
Yeah.
is.
Exactly. And then the other thing you do is you get yourself a Dylan. Now the Dylan is best that if the Dylan fits sort of the kinds of characters you're gonna draw, right? So my Dylan is definitely on the sort of lean, and he's a guy. He's very, he's masculine side, so he fits vast majority of the body types really easily without, exception. Like, I don't need to go really hard or anything like that to sort of figure out the body types within, using my Dylan for posing and stuff. But so your Dylan has to fit. So if you're drawing a lot more like very like feminine women with like big chests, like, my Dylan wouldn't work for you. You need a Dylan that fits that sort of like general, general. You're not gonna have you can only, I mean, you can't only have one Dylan, but having more Dylans is more work. So you get yourself like sort of the mid-range one, right? The average body type Dylan, and then you get any pose that you want all the time. Now, you might be asking, Ori, why do I have to get a Dylan if I'm already a person that has the sort of same general body types? Now, I'm going to tell you why, because this is a very important thing. Nobody can take the picture.
Territory.
Nobody can take the picture like you want the picture, okay? That's something that Ori found out the hard way. Ori's mom, very, very willing to take pictures of Ori doing really weird poses, but she can't do what because you can't. It's much harder to tell a person
at the angle you want.
Yeah, it's much harder to tell somebody else the angle and everything of the picture that you want, and it's much easier to pose somebody and then circle around them personally. Okay, so those are the benefits there.
It's the artist's eye. The artist knows what she has to do, so she knows the pose she needs to get.
And it's hard to explain because I can't see what you're looking at, through the camera. I only know so much versus, when you are the person looking through the camera. That is the ticket.
Exactly.
So those are the best. That's the best. And I'm like, this is like satirical in the sense of like calling it your Mars and your Dylan, but like a person that does do those like, very watered down basic sort of things, I would say is very important to just any, artistic endeavor, with the fact that you will always be more critical of your work than ever. I know Mars feels that way with the writing, and then I'm like, oh no, it sounds good to me.
I am certain half of the edits I gave Ori was probably like, oh, that doesn't bother me that much, but then I left a giant explanation for why I wanted to change it.
Yeah. No. So Mars left me these.
I didn't verbally explain it. I left a written explanation in the document.
It's hilarious. Yeah. So she would give me these like edits where it just changes, like she said before. How dare he to how can I? I would have just accepted I would have just accepted that and just put it in, no explanation. I asked her to do a task, and this was to do what she did with these edits, and she did it, and I wasn't gonna ask questions. But no, she gives this whole little, like, you know, blurb and all this sort of stuff about it. So it's just really funny. She doesn't do with everything, because some of them are just me doing a stupid on the, like, spelling or whatever.
It happens. We're not perfect, and we don't expect us to be.
I found that extra panel you talked about, Mars.
Extra panel.
You said 3.
Oh!
You said you added 3.
I thought I did, and then
Yeah.
you convinced me it was 2.
Because you didn't put the third one with the little open bullet point.
Oh, I didn't make it double indented?
No, you didn't give it the special bullet point. So that's why I couldn't just find it. So I found it.
My bad.
I found it. It's okay. I found it.
Whoopsie doopsie. It's probably fine.
No, I mean, it is fine.
What panel was it then? If it's something you can share on screen, because now I'm
not
curious.
Gonna share the whole thing on the screen just because I know
not screen. I meant stream.
Yeah. I have to find it again.
Like just talking about it, not
Here
like
it is.
actually showing what the edit is.
So it's just adding a panel where Sinnett says, you know, I don't think you ever told us your name. Just giving it Sinnett so they know who it is.
Okay, yeah, because that text bubble is just like it's sitting in the middle of the campfire, so there's no indication really who's talking.
Who's speaking. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted some clarity there.
Yep.
Okay.
That was the other.
Yeah, that does sound familiar. I did do that.
But it's not double indented, so like I couldn't skim for it. I like literally just looking in, I see possible panel inclusion. I was like, oh, there's the third one she was talking about.
I'm like, I know I did a third one, or he's gaslighting me.
I wasn't gaslighting you. I just didn't know where it was. It's like
because
saying
Mars forgot to mark it like a little dummy.
Yeah, it's like saying, oh yeah, all of the edits are colored in green. Oh, okay, I see 5 edits here. Wait, I thought there was 6. You didn't color the 6th one in green, so I wasn't counting them.
I think I was close to the end of editing the entries, and I think I just got brain shit.
It was just funny. Alrighty.
Okay. I'm like, I swear to God I did 3.
Yep, and you did. All right. Well, that was one down panel. Right? How nice and easy.
But it's funny though. So I'm curious, Ori.
Mm-hmm.
When you were talking about the writing edits, you said like taking an example, that change from how dare he to how can I, like you wouldn't have blinked twice at that. But when I provide an explanation, do you like see how it changes the story? Do you think it enhances it? Like, is it showing you like another way of thinking about dialogue maybe you hadn't before? I'm just so curious.
It's definitely like interesting to read like the explanation, and you know, and you even gave like a different one on stream because you know the one you wrote down has spoilers, so you know.
Yeah. No, I had
gave a different one, and that also gave it like different perspective as well. So I definitely find it interesting, but I guess I'm also I am not a writer as Mars. Hello, Roval. Interesting.
Hey, Roval.
I wonder why.
Oh man, we're just having all kinds of scuff tonight, apparently.
Yeah, the scuff is just the scuff. Very weird.
This is just our lives.
But so I'm very like accepting, you know, if it still sounds good, because you know I've come to you once or twice about like I don't know,
yeah,
I'm
like
reading this and it sounds kind of weird,
really fucking weird,
and it's really funny, guys. So the one time I can think about, like off the top of my head, coming to Mars and being like, okay, this one sounds Mars, we need to change it. She automatically like jumps into kind of like oh, but the meaning of this line, and it's like I don't, the meaning is fine, like I like the meaning, it's just the way he says it is wrong. Like I don't know how to tell you. Like the meaning,
See,
great, the vibe,
it's funny. I always
immaculate.
launch into meaning first.
Yeah, and it's like no, I read the line and it's just awkward in my mouth. It's just the words. It's like, fix the words. I don't know. So it's very funny.
So that was
way.
definitely a big focus when I did the edits, not just for like grammar, but also sentence structure.
Yeah, and that's sort of the only ones that I usually ever like say anything about. I mean, Mars and I go over the plot and the like scenes constantly, and you know, over and over and over again. And obviously, like I see what's happening and when it goes. And to be honest, I think in best practice, I should probably give Mars one more chance to like do the script and dialogue after I draw the panels, just because I do change panels sometimes.
You do make edits.
I do make
that
edits that just kind of happen.
And
so
this
that would be
became
best
most
practice.
apparent with like Aster's reaction to Hotsun insulting him, or Hotsun seeing the view from the treehouse for the first time. Like those were moments where I'm like, this moment needs to last a little longer. Like we need to let this sink in a little bit.
So that would be
or
best
sometime a moment
practice.
lasts longer than I've envisioned. But honestly, I've never taken issue with those. Like when you add extra panels to make the moment longer, like I've never had issue with those. I always thought those were good.
Oh, okay. I had to figure out where
like froze
where
for
this
a
even
moment.
was. It was because I'm like looking for this like panel section, and I'm like, where I thought it was like, wait, Sid, it's here. Like, what are we talking? It's like right there. And I'm like, this is not the bubble though. Where the hell is the bubble? I thought it was. I'm like, oh, okay, I found the bubble.
That's why we gotta add that.
Yes.
You've just proven my point. Thank you.
You're welcome. Canvas size. But yeah, so when it comes to like the script, you know, Mars and I will like go over it briefly, but I really don't change it. And it's usually not that I like have the brain function or capacity to really give like, oh yes, I can think about this, until I'm like putting in the bubbles. And I was like, wait, the way that I drew this doesn't really work here anymore. Or the way that like this goes.
Certainly had instances of that.
Yeah. Where I go, Mars, I changed this. And it's just like literally because the characters were like, no, this is how I would do it. And
characters just rip the pen from you sometimes.
Oh yeah. They really
in both directions. It happens in art and it happens in writing.
And it's very interesting that way because I don't know how to explain it beyond that, right? Like I don't know how to explain it beyond the just like, nope, you're doing it and just this is what happens instead. This is just better. Like something in your gut is just like,
no. As just getting in the zone, really. Like
I guess
at least from a writing perspective, I see it as you've kind of become one with the character in a sense. Like you know how they respond, you know they do this, and like when you're typing, I am a fast typer. I'm one of those people who uses all my fingers, just clickety clack across the keyboard, going. So
God,
when I get in the zone, like I just go.
I tried to do like typing lessons and stuff like online. I couldn't do it. I'm such a terrible. I'm not hunt and peck, but I'm definitely not like good, you know? If that makes any sense.
My parents got me all the typing games.
I played them. I remember playing them in school, and it was just like never.
They had that one day where I forget if it was for English or something else. They brought us to the computer lab, covered up the keyboard with like that gross plastic shit.
Yeah.
And just had us like practice typing.
There was like a typing game
for an hour.
I remember playing.
There were so many. There were like zombie typing games. Like those were the popular ones. The one where it was like a pseudo shooter, but you shot by
Yeah.
typing the word correctly.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
There was like a balloon pop one, I think.
I remember the shooter. That was it. What are you making for Hans's contest, Roval? I kept trying to do
that sounds
something.
so
I kind of wanted to be able to make aroma scone in Hero Forge, but I'm not a Hero Forge person, and it's not like a body type that you can just start with. You have to do like some Hero Forge shenanigans. And I just couldn't bring myself to spend the time doing that. It's one of those things. It's sort of interesting. This is completely a side tangent, but it's interesting that when it's like, okay, I'm an artist, I have the physical like ability to draw almost, exactly what I want to see come out of it. That stuff like character creations are just always like a lot to be desired for me. It's always very like, oh, I just don't
That's
find.
like, why would I futz around with this program
And they're really,
where I
but
can
they're
just
really
draw
cool,
it?
right? Like I acknowledge that like the stuff that people do with Hero Forge is really, really
It's
cool,
so
and
damn
it's a
cool.
great like tool to have. But it's definitely like as a person, I'm just like, yeah, but I could just draw it like way faster and just be able to do it. It's like learning a new program, right? Because like the
Yeah.
Hero Forge stuff can get like really in depth, and it's kind of nuts what people do and like how they get around like body shapes and stuff, and it's kind of nuts. But so it's just like, oh no, I either have to like learn this whole new thing, but I could just draw it exactly how I want it.
I give you props for trying.
Okay, now I have to look at how all of this is. Oh goodness. This is a less easy one, but we'll make it work.
Sorry, Ori.
It's okay. It's okay.
This is why I tried to not give you so many panels.
I appreciate that you have only given me 3. However, little old me made it 4 because.
Oh, all right.
I told you I added Aster's feet in that one. You were there.
Oh, I thought you were adding one to this. I'm like, you don't need to.
No.
We just need a Senate head panel.
The whole. Well, okay, it has to be
Or
good.
it could just be like a
Mars.
mouth or a piece of Senate.
Well, it is going to be just a piece of Senate because I feel like that's
what I
better
thought.
because I feel like the bigger like reveal moment is this like, hi, I'm Senate, whereas like actually like
yeah,
I'm introducing
it's
myself.
like an
Here's my
actual
whole
character
thing.
introduction.
Yeah.
Like, hello, I'm
I
Senate.
think we're gonna do it as my favorite go-to these days, the side profile.
Ooh.
Uh,
You get to avoid drawing the other eye.
Oh,
inside the face.
there's no
It's
eyes
so
in it
pretty.
because like it's just the mouth. I enjoy doing that for whatever reason.
Beautiful.
And honestly, it has nothing. It has less to do with like avoidance and more to do with like, I'm actually good at side profiles now.
Yay, Ori!
That was a really big thing for me. I highly recommend doing really anything that forces you to do your craft consistently, because the amount and specifically doing it in a way, if possible, that sort of gently pushes you outside your comfort zone. Because a big part of doing the comic was not only being able to tell the story and get to make something with Mars, it was a good way to improve my own art. You know, it was a good way to sort of improve my skills and give myself reason to force, like, to push the envelope, I guess, to get out of my comfort zone, because I was never good at side profiles. I was very, very not good at it. I didn't want to get, good at it. Kind of, I'm a hobby artist, so it's like, why try that hard, I guess, sort of thing. And I was definitely an artist that started drawing with the classic, like, 3/4 anime, view first, so I could only draw like 3/4 heads for the longest time, and then I managed to draw straight on heads, and then that was like easier because they're like symmetrical, right? So it's like, ooh, you know, you don't have to think about like angles and stuff. And then but the side profile sort of always got pushed to the side, as I didn't really want to do it, and I didn't really want to do it. And so a lot of the earlier side profiles in Outcast, especially the ones of the episodes like never published, it was definitely like, oh, you just sort of do it and you do your best and you move on. But at this point
That
now,
was definitely one of the instances where you were like, I'm settling.
yeah, oh yeah, 100%. Because I knew that I was pushing the envelope by doing the pose, right? And that was the sort of interesting thing. I knew that doing the whole pose was already like a, look at me, I'm trying to improve, so I have to accept that it won't be good the first time, you know? And that's sort of like an interesting dichotomy there. Same with backgrounds, right? I hated drawing backgrounds. I still don't particularly enjoy it, if I'm being honest, but it's definitely less of like a horrific experience.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're not being tortured.
Well, because I'm at the difference. It's, and I bet people, you know, I bet anybody, artist or not, can relate to this. And it's the fact of being physically unable to put the idea that you have onto the canvas in any reasonable level,
100%.
right? Like there's
Even
obviously,
as a writer, sometimes I encounter that. Like,
yeah,
I'll just
no,
be
I think
lying in
literally
bed,
anybody.
and I'm literally thinking in story terms, like, and then the person did this, they felt blah blah blah, he realized this, and then I try to write it, and it's like terrible. I'm like, how does it work in my head? But the moment I try to put it on paper, it sounds like shit.
Yeah,
And I think that's just one of those things you have to accept as you're growing and learning.
well, so I've said this before, but I think this is one of the best like art advice and, you know, any advice that I've ever heard, and that was that your head grows faster than your hand, and so you noticing that you are unable to do something, or you know, in a lot of cases it's people suddenly not liking their art anymore, is actually a sign of growth, because now you have reached the point that you are noticing the mistakes that you want to fix, but you cannot fix them. You cannot learn your hand how to fix them until your brain has noticed that they're there. So your head will notice it first before your hand can catch up. And that is like something that I think that really stuck with me, because it is very much the like, okay, I see that like I'm struggling here, but I still can't do it. So it's very frustrating. But obviously I couldn't make those changes if I never saw it in the first place. And so I think that's really important there.
I find it really interesting because you find so many different levels of writing out there, right? Like, I was looking at Naruto fanfiction the other day, and the difference between 2004 fanfiction and 2024 fanfiction is so stark and so noticeable. Like, it's clear there was a shift in the paradigm, right? Like, it started out as, oh, this is just a fun thing I'm doing on the side, and then we see a shift in fandom where it's like, oh no, fan fiction is being taken seriously. Like, some authors get their start in fan fiction. There are a lot of Raylo writers that went on to become actual authors. So it's actually a pretty respected medium
and
where people thrive to write well. Whereas before it just started out on like, I'm doing this for fun kind of level, and people didn't really like pay attention to prose, pay attention to a
it was just getting the
constructed
ideas.
story. It was more so just getting the idea out. Exactly. And that's not to say that stories like that don't exist, but now it comes with a little bit more of a disclaimer. Like, one of the biggest things I noticed with 2004 fics and onwards, at least until about like 2012, I'd say, is people putting author's notes in the middle of their story. Like they'll have the parentheses and write a little, aha, this character did this, or haha, had to include that. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this is just somebody having fun and getting their idea out. Like that's good for them. And then you get to the fix where it's like, oh, someone really took this seriously. Like they put everything they had into it. They put in like the top note, like, this is my first pick. I hope it's good. Please let me know what you guys think. Any criticism and critiques are welcome. Like it's clear people want to grow their craft now. And yeah, you kind of start out on different levels. Like I think I've said a couple times, I didn't start out writing fan fiction per se. I actually started out writing my own little series that will never see the light of day because it is cringe as hell. um, but it was a good start, and I had one friend that really liked it, and that gave me the confidence to kind of continue that. Now, unfortunately, I ran out of ideas for that little story, and that's where fanfiction came to save me, because it's like, here's the characters, here's the world, here's a sandbox to go play in.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the setup, which is pretty funny. So when the chance came along to do something like Outcast, to go back to original stories, original ideas, and create something from scratch, that was my challenge to myself, because up till that point, I had only dabbled in mainly fan fiction. Again, most of which never saw the light of day. I'm retooling a couple. Maybe there will be a post in about a month. We'll see. Still trying to find one that's worthy enough to retool. But it's a process. But that was my personal challenge. And then the other challenge was doing dialogue heavy writing, because even though I'm writing the script and I'm writing like, here's how I want this character to sound, here's how their expression should look, it's still for the most part dialogue moving the plot along. There's no he stopped and gazed at the open sea, or he blinked in awe at the looming treehouse before him. Like there's none of that. That's all being done through the visuals. So most of the writing is purely dialogue based, and I found that an interesting challenge, because how do you keep the plot moving forward through simply dialogue? Well, think of human conversation. It's basically just that. You're just putting the words into paper.
I think that's what makes Mars and I's sort of like partnership for this endeavor very easy in the sense. I mean, obviously it's definitely a big part of like, we like the same things, you know, like if you like the same things,
the same kind of stories, we like the same characters.
We literally, Mars like did this like ship dynamic, you know, whatever thermometer thing, and then send it to me, and I did it, and I really didn't look at hers.
Favorite ship tropes.
Yeah, and like
love 90% triangle right
of
them on the bottom
were like directly like I traced, you know, hers, you know, basically is what they looked like. Like that's how just in sync with our personal tastes we are. So obviously that is like a big help.
Which makes sense for the type of shows we watch, the type of books we read. We're lending each other stuff all the time. So.
But it definitely means that it's very easy for us to sort of
really funny.
Have the
now
same
that
vibe.
I think about it.
Yeah.
Because Ori, you and I, like, we hung out, but in high school, like, we kind of fell into our own groups, and then it was only in college when we started like fully hanging out again. And it's just so funny that we grew to have the same taste in media and everything, even though we were apart. Like that's just funny to me.
For those who don't know, like the first time Mars and I watched anime together, I visited her at her college, and she was like, let's watch Survey. She was like, you like anime, right? I was like, yes. And she was like, let's watch Survey. And I was like, I'm here for. I'm fucking here for that. And we were very here
I
for that.
basically told her everyone in the show is so shippable, and there's kind of a master servant thing going on, but not in a creepy way,
Yeah,
like an actual
and
fun
vampires.
way.
I mean, I'm vampires.
They're vampires that team up with mortals, and their powers are increased because of that. But there's this phantom chain that appears between them, and I can't help it if the chain attaches to one of the vampires' necks. That's just the vibe.
It is just the vibe. But so I feel like that was Mars's like thermometer test for me as like a friend. She was like okay, like this, I knew this person in high school. We like hung out, but we only did like real like classic kids
What
stuff.
was going through my head at the time though
Well,
is I knew you watched Erase. Like we had been
yes,
talking about
we
it a
talked
lot up
about
to that
Erase.
point. So I knew that was off the table. And the only other thing I was currently watching at the time was Hunter x Hunter, which is long as fuck,
Yeah.
and Gintama, which is even longer as fuck. And everything else I'd watched up to that point, Sword Art Online, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, Death Note, like none of it could be watched in a single night. The only recent thing that I had discovered on my own was Servamp. So I was like, okay, it was interesting enough. I enjoyed it, and who knows, maybe she hasn't heard of this, and this will be a new experience.
And I hadn't heard of it because honestly, I was a very
that was
mainstream.
maybe what I was looking for.
If I'm being honest, I probably would not watch nearly as much or as like smaller animes as I have because of Mars.
I watch a ton of smaller anime.
Yeah, all the animes that I've chosen specifically for myself were like super big fandoms. Like I chose Fairy Tail for myself, and that was because it was on Tumblr, and people I followed for other things followed Fairy Tail stuff or did Fairy Tail stuff. So that was why. And then like most of them other were like, pretty mainstream ones that you like just hear about by existing on the internet at a certain point, right? Especially on Tumblr.
Oh yeah.
And I think the only one that I had like I didn't find it myself. I know that my high school friend at the time, he had introduced me to the idea of our High School Host Club, but I didn't watch it with him. He just like mentioned its existence or something. And I know I watched it on my own in college then, and that was the only one I really remember being like, I'm bringing this to the table with Mars, until Princess Tutu was another one I found on my own as like a thing of like,
that
yes,
one was so good.
Oh, it was so good. I watch very few animes on my own. I watch very few stuff on my own, just in general. Right now, Mars and I do more of like a book club show thing, which is honestly pretty fun.
That was how we watched My Boss's Goofy together. It was literally book club style. And now I'm trying to convince her to watch Mr. Villain's Day Off.
I have to do that one.
It's so fucking I will watch the first episode with you. If it weren't so late, I would say let's watch it after stream.
Sadly, no, but I'll get to it. It's on the list, okay. And I'm of course doing Cherry Magic or whatever.
Oh god, that one is just, it's gonna be slow burn.
I'm ready for it though. Come on, you made it through Our Boss is Goofy. They're literally slow burn essentially.
Oh god. They should have kissed.
Yeah,
me.
Exactly.
They were already living together.
And then they're just neighbors. Come on. That's the stuff, man.
It literally reminded me of the webtoon I'll Be in Your Care, where they literally did the exact plot line where the guy was like, I need to become more independent so I can take care of my boyfriend. I'm going to move out. And the other guy's like, no, don't. That makes me sad.
What's so hilarious about that, I find, is that's like the opposite of like a Western, like cultural thing. It's like, no. You're usually apart and then you move in, right? Like,
yeah. It's like moving in is usually the end goal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was for me, right? Is that like, oh yeah, I've been
achievement unlocked.
Literally though, adulting level up.
Oh man, I'll get there one day.
But it's just very funny that both of them are like, yes, I'm going to move out of the house with my significant other. And it's like, what? Wait, I just got here. Why would I? That was kind of the plan, to get here, not to leave.
Like, wait, what the heck? Hey, Pastry Puff. Oh,
Hello,
thank you for
Pastry
popping
Puff.
in. We appreciate it.
Thanks for saying
You have
hi.
a good, restful sleep.
Yes. The week has just begun.
It doesn't feel like it. Tomorrow's Wednesday.
Yeah.
This week already feels over.
Oh, I mean, I wish it was over. I'm just excited. My day today was kind of, I wouldn't say difficult on a job, but it was definitely the most kind of physically taxing, just because it was a lot more of like having to stand over the crew doing work because they were like fully excavating the whole time, and it was really cold and snowy and rainy.
Ori, bring a thermos with you.
Oh, I had a turtleneck, a thin vest, a over flannel shirt, like a lined flannel shirt, a puffy vest, and then my big winter coat. And then I had fuzzy pants that are technically too small in a way, so they're like almost leggings, and then looser over pants, and then socks and boots, and a really, really fuzzy hat. And then my hard hat, and then my hood. And I have an electric hand warmer.
Decked out.
I have an electric hand warmer, rechargeable hand warmer, which is really good. Which I should plug in. But yeah, no, we going, you know. We going.
That's good.
And then 2 thermoses of tea. One that stays really hot, and the other that cools off pretty quick just because I want to drink it right away in the morning.
That's valid. I feel that. I feel that in my soul.
I literally have a specific thermos that I like because it's not a good thermos, you know?
It's like, this is the thermos where I can just drink without the fear of burning my tongue. And it's great.
Yeah, it's specifically the fact that it cools off just fast enough that I can drink it when I want the tea first, but still have it be like travel mug format.
It's
yeah,
perfect.
And now imagine the bar.
Oh yeah.
Hooey.
Yikes.
Hooey mama.
And he
Very
made
nuts.
it through.
Yeah, made it through.
It's a testament to his resilience.
Oh yeah, God. It is. Forget like the lawyer stuff. I mean, it has been a lot. He stresses sometimes, but the actual like taking of the bar, whew, nuts.
It's probably the hardest part.
Really though.
Oh man.
Okay. Oh, let's do the proper thing and add Senate's freckles.
I never intended for Servamp to be a temperature test, but it worked out very well.
It worked out very well.
Because I was like, okay, she likes the gay ship, she likes the vampires, she likes the supernatural stuff, and she likes things that make you cry. Cool, I got a lot to work with here.
It's one of those funny things where it's like, I don't really remember like what we would talk about or like really do like before that moment.
I gotta be honest, I don't think we talked during that.
But we talked enough to where
just vibing.
But we talked enough to where I was going to visit you at college, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, we talked enough for it to be like
we were talking enough on
stay
Skype,
over.
and then Thanksgiving break rolled around. So I forget if we called or texted, but you told me, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to come down and my mom's gonna have to get me. And I said, well, why don't you come to New Paltz for the weekend? I still have to be here for another week. Your mom only has to drive 2 hours instead of like the 4 or 6 that she would have had to your school. So like, I know that whole weekend was like 2 birds, 1 stone. We get to hang out, and your mom doesn't have to drive for an eternity.
That is
but
very
up till
true.
that point, Because what had happened, I was introducing Ori to my campus friends, and we all hung out a bit. Like we were making breakfast together. We went to the supermarket. We made some homemade pizza. It was a great night. And then we all kind of split off for the evening. And one of my friends, she was dorming by herself. So she was like, Mars, let's trade rooms for the night. I'll go to your room with your roommate, and then you and Ori can have my room that I don't share with anyone else. So like you guys get your own beds and everything. You don't have to force Ori to sleep on the floor. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. This is so perfect. And that was when we watched Servamp.
Yeah.
Because like that was like once everything died down, the other friends had gone away. It's like, okay,
Yeah, we
now time
sat
for
on the
some
bed.
sleepover shit.
I remember that. We sat on the bed and we watched it
And
on
we
your
just-
laptop.
we
And we just
binged.
binged the whole thing.
It was like the whole season in one night. Which, so good. I have the DVD.
Oh, really? Damn.
Yeah, I think I got it from Best Buy. I think I got it for Christmas. I just if I see a physical copy of a series I like,
Oh yeah,
I'm
have you
buying
heard
it.
have you heard the thing about the digital copies that's happening?
I heard that they're no longer going to have physical copies.
Oh no. This is
and
not
that
what I'm
makes me
talking about.
mad.
They're talking about how they are currently proving right now, like companies are proving that you do not own the digital things that you have purchased, not rented, purchased
Yeah, no shit.
digitally. And well, because
It
apparently
could all disappear in a millisecond, right?
I think it was Sony with PlayStation.
Oh, in the PlayStation Store? Yeah.
It's in the PlayStation Store. People bought like shows
Oh,
and
that's
stuff
been discussion for a
from
long time.
Discovery. From Discovery, because the contract is up and they're not like redoing it. So even if you've purchased it, it'll be removed from your library.
Oh,
And so
that
it's like,
makes a very good argument for
yeah,
physical
so literally
copies.
everyone is like, haha, and you guys made fun of my like DVD hoard, but look what's happening
Yeah,
to you.
literally.
It's like, no, I
like-
would never.
When the shit is disappearing.
I don't think I've ever purchased a digital like thing specifically with the intent of like, this is mine now. I purchased one episode of a show because that was the only way to like watch it, and I wanted to watch it, but it was like $1. You know, it wasn't like nuts.
It wasn't a huge money thing.
Yeah.
So I've bought a couple things digital, mostly games like eShop stuff on Switch. The biggest purchase I made was definitely Animal Crossing back in 2020, but it was 2020.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I wasn't
Rule.
gonna get a physical copy no matter what I did. So yeah, Sony did a Microsoft. Also, I am blanking on the name of the anime you recommended. I apologize.
Yeah, I'm trying. Was that the long one? I feel like that was the other long
Oh!
one.
Oh, it was the one. It was the fantasy one. It was the fantasy one. I remember looking at the art and saying, "Ooh, this is a vibe. I'm going to check this out." It's in my history page somewhere because I did look at the Wikipedia. Or no, wait, didn't you DM me that directly? I'm pretty sure I still have it. Banished from the Heroes Party and chilling in my 30s. Yep, that sounds familiar. Definitely didn't watch it yet just because life is busy and I'm trying to watch a whole bunch of...
It's on the list, and that's honestly all we could promise at any given point in time.
Yeah. Ori and I just have so many things to watch, you guys.
So many things to watch, so many things to do.
I mean, to be fair, ever since we finished and Spy X Family Season 2 and Megalobot, a lot. It's more so just finding the time now.
Yeah. Well, because we don't have specific like 1 day 5-hour anime watch time anymore, unfortunately.
We also gotta finish Ghost and Molly McGee.
Yes, I think doing, once it's done, we'll get closer to the
I'll be honest,
Tello
Robo,
one.
I am not into harems. The tropes kind of bug me, and Also, sometimes I feel they don't know how to write women with harems.
I only like
Oh,
one,
am
and
I
it's
frozen?
technically not a harem, it's a reverse harem. It's Ori High School Host Club. It's a reverse harem anime.
Tell me you watched Dora in High School Host Club without saying you watched Dora in High School Host Club. I think I might have gotten cut off there. My internet froze for a second. But
Yeah.
I'm not a huge harem fan. The tropes bug me sometimes, and sometimes the way they write women just isn't the best. I know that's the point. I know it's wish fulfillment. It's just one of those things I can't work past.
I had the problem.
I have accepted a lot with anime. Like, I am watching Apothecary Diaries right now. I'm so sorry, Ori, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
it's okay.
I'm watching Apothecary Diaries right now. It's a vibe. Like, it's a fun time. I love it. I'm having a blast with it. This one character, Jinshi, he's great in isolation. When he's with the main character, Mao Mao, and he turns into this creepy guy who can't take no for an answer, I'm like, can we just rip the Band-Aid off and move on? But I have realized this is a trope I have to accept if I want to enjoy the rest of the anime. So, luckily, there's enough good to outweigh all of that, but I'm just like, oh my god, like, dude, back the hell off. She keeps saying no, and you keep, like, pushing it. And it's just something that personally drives me nuts. Like, I see people fangirl over it, and or fanboy, I'm not judging. If you like it, you like it. Fan person over that, you do you. But it's just not for me. I can't stand the characters who are like, "Let me push my way into your personal space and, really make you uncomfortable even though you told me no a million times," like, in that way, you know?
I think that
But I realized Apothecary Diaries, I'm like, I just have to accept these scenes. They're there, people like them, I'm not one of them. I'm
I
here for the poisons like Mao Mao is.
yes, there you go. I think
Where the true vibe is.
the funniest like harem anime experience I've had was, I'm pretty sure, because I don't even know anymore. I'm pretty sure like I'm just really ace, right? So we watched the first season of Rise of the Shield Hero.
Oh my god! Oh, you're doomed.
Well, I like it. So me, Ori, very ace, is like, this is good times. He's not like honestly, at least in my recollection, main character is not trying to get with the two like girls that he's with the whole time. Like, maybe Raftalia's kind of oddly devoted, but the other one's like a child, okay? And I'm just keeping, she's a child, and honestly, they don't do weird shit with it, so like, I'm okay, at least in season 1. I don't know about anything beyond that. And he's pretty just like,
went downhill.
yeah, but
AKA
obviously
the turtle arc.
when you sort of like sit back and like really try to analyze it, it's like, yeah, this is probably a lot more harem than I was like picking up on the first time.
Yeah, turn your brain off for certain things.
And so it's just like, I was just
vibe. I'm just gonna ignore all that sexual stuff, please.
because it's like, because it's also like, I love the premise of like the weapons of shield, and he has to rely on like other people to fight for him. Like, this is the good shit, and it's literally fucking friendship is your power. Like, oh, thank you. That's what I want in life. And then it's just like, yeah, but it's also like a harem, and it's like they can be all women. That's fine, but can't they just be friends? I don't know.
Well, apparently not.
Yeah, that's also a weird bit to Roval. Yeah, it's, again, when I first watched it, I only vaguely knew what I was getting into, and by vaguely I mean the trailer looked cool, and I watched it, and like I said, being
That's usually why people check things out.
Yeah, but also being very like turn brain off to watch content, Ori was like, yay, cool friendship.
This was
and
before I taught her.
yeah, cool friendship and cool stuff and like very fun and just haha, you know, he's being better. And yeah, so
See, here's my problem. Ori's so ace, it flies over her head. I'm ace that I don't want to see it in my shows, but I recognize it's there.
see that's the
I'm just
problem.
like,
You have to get on my
yes,
level, Mars.
excited, analyzed. Mm.
Get on my brain dead content consuming level.
I'm trying. I read all the video essays. They've made me too aware. That's the problem.
I will
too
say
aware now.
it's
There's no way
definitely
to undo it.
become harder, you know? It's definitely become more difficult, but I can still just brain turn off. Add. Orange. I didn't think I would get to do this firelight shading.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I never thought I would do it, you know, do it again, or at least not anytime soon.
The Strongest Tanks Labyrinth raids. Ooh. Tis be the season for the dungeon crawler animes. Got Dungeon Mesh.
Oh yeah,
Strongest Tanks
Robo, if you're not
Labyrinth.
watching Dungeon Meshy, like please, 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 please,
Oh,
please, please,
Trigger is
please.
doing such a good job with it.
I'm having
I am hella
such a
impressed
good
with
time.
what Trigger is.
It's
so good.
been
God.
lovely, and I'm so happy it's getting what it deserves, and I could cry. It's so good. I'm so
The
happy.
opening is so good. It's sung by Bump of Chicken, who also did the ending for Kekai Sensen. Like, please. So good. And they actually got the medieval instruments in the opening. Like,
It's
we
so good.
stand a theme song that actually sounds like it came from the time period they're
Yes.
representing. Like Vinland Saga. Oh, the bagpipes during the Viking setting. Thank you. Please. Gimme. Love it.
Ooh,
Give me the vibe. I want the vibe.
the vibe is good.
The vibe is beautiful. So yeah, TLDR, Ori and I have a lot on our list that we need to watch.
Yep.
I think Odd Taxi will probably be the next one, because we've been talking about that one for forever.
Yeah.
And we both really like mysteries, so it's like, we gotta work this in.
we got it.
Also got animals in it, and it's like, oh, this
Yeah,
is just branded with
It's animal
now.
people mystery, and it's supposed to be like one of the top mystery animes, and we loved Moriarty, which is also one of them. So,
I find Moriarty physical copy, mine claiming.
you
It's
need to
mine.
like get me one, and I'll pay you back. Like if you find like I need it too, man. So good.
Honestly, I may just have a shopping spree at Barnes & Noble this weekend, and there's a Best
Ooh.
Buy right next. Our Barnes & Noble is sadly moving away to a further location.
Yeah,
but
so
they
far.
are having 75% off sale on the entire store, so I'm like, ooh!
It is benefiting that way. Yes.
Last time I went, I got like $70 worth of stuff for $26. I was like, dog!
Goodness.
This is great. I mean, I'm sad, but I'm glad they're moving to a bigger location. Like,
Okay.
it means they're still doing well. I'm
So,
glad people
Roval,
still like physical books.
I want to tell you, and this is something you have to keep in mind. The whole, like, Dungeon Meshi. So I've read the manga. Okay, I haven't
Ditto.
technically finished the manga because it's not been all translated into English yet, but it's getting there very slowly. There's like 2 more volumes that need to come out. But everybody gets their arc, and like, okay,
So
like
good.
Marcel is picky. Wait, you know, hold on.
There's an
We get to know
explanation. There's a reason. We
the
get to see a bit
characters right
more.
here. And that's it. But I do realize the time now, so we do have to
holy
go.
shit.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Last time I checked, it was 10:30. But thank you
Oh,
everybody for
Jesus,
hanging
okay.
out. This will be a quick ending because it is much later than I thought. And
I get Ori to bed. He has work
yes,
tomorrow. I have work tomorrow. So yeah, we
indeed.
gotta hit the hay.
Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you guys on Thursday for Drawing and Dragons.
Yes,
Okay,
it's
bye.
gonna be a fun time. Bye bye, guys.